And welcome to the press conference for the 2021 Disc Golf Pro Tour Tour Championship presented by Guaranteed Rate. First up, our defending champion, Mr. Kevin Jones, KJ USA. You're coming into this event as the 7th seed for the second year running. Just kind of talk about the Pro Tour season you've had in general.
I think I played a pretty good season this year. Not as good as I would like. I mean, obviously I'm looking to get a W out there, but I put myself in position to win multiple times, have really good memories of this year, and I think it was overall a success.
Certainly 7 top 10 finishes on all your Disc Golf Pro Tour starts. Talk about being the defending champion at this event. Of course, set a record payout. The pressure ratcheted up last year. It's even higher this year. What are your thoughts as we get ready to kick off this weekend?
Well, I think the course favors me really nicely. There's a lot of very important sidearm shots that we're going to see out there that just shape for me power-wise and angle-wise perfectly. So I have a really big advantage on this course, and I hope to use that when the tournament comes.
Is anything less than a win, less than a repeat going to be acceptable? What's your mentality as far as expectations?
I think all of us as players just want to be playing on that final day. That Sunday round is going to be, that's going to be a fun one to be in.
And then, being that you are the 7th seed, you know, when you're looking at players with the bye, of course, we saw Chris Dickerson a couple years ago. He was able to win the tournament, playing all of the rounds. How do you feel personally about having a bye versus having to compete every day? Do you like the momentum or do you like the rest?
It's without a doubt a ginormous advantage to be having a bye until Saturday. The way that it works is the top 4 are moving on each round. So the first round we've got 16 players in the top 4, top 25%. Then the next round is the 4 through, so yeah, it'd be another 25% I think cut. So it's like each cut is significant, and each time that you have to play is a massive risk. So being able to skip the first 2 rounds is great.
So to follow up on that a little bit, you don't buy the narrative of momentum, of playing those additional rounds, kind of getting hot and bringing that momentum into a final round. You would, every day of the week, take the bye and just go straight to semis.
Yeah, I don't think momentum is going to mean much out here. There's too many trees.
Fair enough. I want to also follow up on something you mentioned about your season. You kind of said that you put yourself in a position to win several times. You feel like you've had good memories of this season and had a good season overall. Is there a moment that sticks out to you as you know, being the most important moment of the season or the most significant moment of Kevin Jones's 2021?
Well, a few that pop in my mind are Santa Cruz Masters Cup. I had that one pretty much dominated, and it was in my hands, and I let that one go, but still, like, 3rd place is great at a national tour. Portland Open was another one that I had right there on my fingertips and wasn't able to come through. And then Worlds is by far the most significant one. I finished in 4th place, but in my eyes, I finished in 2nd place. So it was the most important event of my year. It's what probably most people saw me doing this year as well. Probably got the most recognition from Worlds.
Absolutely. And one additional question just about the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship. Obviously defending champion, biggest purse of the year, but you wouldn't rank this as the most significant tournament that you could take down, would you? How would you kind of compare the Pro Tour Championship to a Worlds or to a USDGC?
The only difference is Worlds and USDGC have a little bit more of a reputation to them since they've been around our sport for a longer time. The World Championships is easily the most prestigious event because of the title that we're going after, not because of the money that we're chasing. This event is more, we're chasing a little bit more of the money as of right now, but who's to say that in 10 years this won't be the most prestigious event out there? It wouldn't surprise me at all, but right now World Championships and US Championships are majors, and they're the ones that we're really, really shooting for. But it's nice to have the most added cash in history added to this event. That definitely makes it extremely important.
Let's talk a little bit about the course, a couple of adjustments to the layout from this year. I can think of 2, most notably brand new tee pad on that. Anything sticking out in your mind strategically for where you got to adjust from 2020?
It seems pretty similar for the most part from what I know. I think that I'm just going to have to be really dialed with my flat forehands. As long as my forehands are going to come out really consistent every time, that's going to keep me in the fairway and give me good birdie opportunities. Last year, I remember struggling with my mid-range. On hole 17, it's one of the most crucial mid-range shots on the course, and if you don't throw it straight on that hole, it could make for a really long hole. So just a couple things like throwing sidearms straight and then throwing my mid-ranges straight and then making some putts is what's going to lead to success out here.
And then, of course, just coming last week off of a very important major in the United States Championship, any sort of hangover effect, for the lack of a better word? How are you feeling physically? Pretty good. It's been a long, grueling season this year.
It has. It doesn't look like it's going to ease up on us next year either. But it's been a really fun season. There's nothing I'd change about it. I think the direction that the sport's going is great, obviously, and I'm just ready for this weekend.
All right, everybody, that is Kevin Jones, your defending Tour Championship champion. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
Back now with our 2020 Tour champion, Hailey King. Hailey, how you feeling?
Feeling great. It's always amazing being back here.
Good memories on this course. Of course, a giant playoff win for you last year over Paige Pierce. As you kind of look back at that moment a year later, what's the first thing that pops to your mind about that?
It's the place my dreams came true.
That's awesome. Well said. Well, you finished in 5th place in Tour standings this year, as opposed to 4th in 2020. So a little bit of a different scenario as far as getting a bye in the FPO division. Just wondering your thoughts on that. Are you excited to play more? Would you prefer the bye? How do you think about that?
I actually like not having the bye because it's another chance I get on the course and just know where I should land for the next day.
And then this season, you did a lot of work with the putter. Of course, anybody can see that watching, but the stats bear it out. 3rd best Circle 2 putting percentage on the year. Do you feel like that's going to be a weapon that you're going to have to go to on a course like this?
Definitely. There are a lot of holes out here where if you're a good Circle 2 putter, you're going to be gaining a stroke on the whole field.
And then some of the changes to the course this year, anything you've noticed from the FPOTs, anything that you have to make a big adjustment, or what sticks out in your mind?
I think hole 10 is really, it's hole 10, the only really big adjustment that definitely changed a hole for us. For me, I felt like last year I had a stroke advantage on the entire field, and now this year we're a lot closer. I don't have that stroke necessarily.
Gotcha. Looking back to the season on the Pro Tour, 7 top 5s, including winning the regular season finale at the Green Mountain Championship. You just said a minute ago that this tournament changed your life last year, and outside of the Pro Tour, obviously you were deadly on the PDJ National Tour in its final season. Talk about kind of transitioning that win last year into what your season bore out and sort of where you can go. What are your expectations?
That's really hard because I feel like last year when I won the Pro Tour Championships, I'm nowhere near the level that I'm on now. I don't have the confidence, I didn't have the shots. So for me to win that and going into the next year, it showed me that I don't have all the shots right now, but I can still win. So this year I've been developing all those shots and paid off. I won the National Tour, won 3 of the National Tour events, and then I won the DGPT at GMC, so that boosted my confidence, and it definitely changed a lot.
Just want to follow up on that a little bit. You've talked about it in previous press conferences, what you just said, you don't have all of the shots dialed yet. What are you working on right now? Is there a shot that you've kind of been putting extra time into over the last week and a half, 2 weeks since we last saw you?
Yeah, so at Texas State, it came down to the end where I couldn't throw a backhand upshot, and that cost me a lot of strokes and almost made me lose that tournament. I've been focusing on that a lot, so I've been throwing bangers and just learning how to throw a spinny backhand upshot, and it's changed.
Your spin is definitely getting dialed in. I want to kind of circle a little bit back to the season, as you and Jamie were talking about there for a minute. 2nd highest FPO rated round ever. You shot that at GMC. You won DGPT Elite Series. You won on the National Tour. What was the biggest moment of the season, though, for you personally? When you reflect on 2021, out of all of those different achievements, what does your mind go to?
I would say GMC, that tournament. I literally cried the last time I was on that course. The first time I've cried from disc golf, and because I wanted it so bad and I didn't want to leave Vermont. And then this year I cried from Join Us, from getting it and being able to stay there a week extra, even though my car broke down. But yeah.
It's got to be awesome for things to come full circle like that for you. Kind of turning to this week, you mentioned that you actually like the bye, that you like playing an extra round and would prefer to not have the bye. That's interesting. We've heard Kevin Jones say earlier that he loves the bye. He'll just take the advance to the semifinal round rather than playing those extra rounds. Do you feel like, you said you feel like it's getting those extra shots on the course and kind of getting that practice. Is there another element to it? Is there some aspect of momentum that comes into play when you do get that extra round earlier in the tournament?
Yeah, for sure. I really like multiple round tournaments. The longer they are, I like them more because that gives me a higher chance of winning, because I usually like to throw a round out in a tournament. So I think having the more rounds is going to allow me to prepare a lot more for the 30,000.
Absolutely. And speaking of 30,000, biggest purse in disc golf, $30,000 on the line. I just want to get your thoughts on the big three elite events, or I should say prestige events that our sport has between the USDGC or the women's U.S. national title, World Championships, and Disc Golf Pro Tour Championships. How do you think about those three events? Which of those events sticks out to you as the most important? And which of those events would you most like to take down?
I think most important would be the World Championships, but I think the one that everyone wants to take down the most is this one, and that's because of the payout and being on ESPN and all that stuff. So I don't know. I like them. I like Worlds and this equally. I can decide what title I'd like to take home.
Hailey, what have you learned about yourself, as a person out on the road this year? Your first time, taking down close wins and picking moments to take a little break for yourself. I mean, what are you going to take away personally from this year?
I feel like I've personally grown a lot. I don't want to get into it, but I've done a lot of personal growth.
And what do your 20s look like?
It's awesome. The 20s started off great. I got to hang out with all my friends and play disc golf on my 20th birthday for a tournament, so it was great.
And then just to wrap things up here, there's been a lot of talk about parity in the FPO division, and at the end of the day, we see a lot of the same names qualifying for this tournament as last year. I think something like 12 or 13 of the same women qualified for this as last year, but obviously everybody's game has stepped up. Is it just anecdotal? Is that what we're seeing from the outside? What's it like having been on tour against these fierce competitors all year? Is the level really going up?
Yes, the level is definitely going up. I mean, you saw Missy Gannon, me, Kona. There's a bunch of new winners out on tour this year, and Paige and Kat aren't playing. They're not playing bad when we win. It's like, yeah, they might have a rough round, but we all have that rough round, and somebody else is still coming home with that trophy. So I think the FPO field as a whole is getting better.
Do you believe that level of competition allows you all to push each other and push the game to kind of new heights? It's amazing to hear you say last year that you felt like It's amazing to hear you say that this year your game has taken significant steps from winning the Pro Tour Championship last year. Do you attribute some of that competition between all of the other new faces in FPO as kind of helping push everybody's game up as the sport grows?
Yes, I would 100% agree with that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Hailey King, your 2020 and defending champion at the Pro Tour Championship. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
Back here with Ricky Wysocki, first in Disc Golf Pro Tour standings. Rick, for the third time in 6 seasons on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, that's quite an achievement. How do you feel?
Feels great. I mean, lots of great players out there on the Pro Tour nowadays, and a lot of different people can win tournaments. But I pride myself on consistency, and I think that's winning the Pro Tour points 3 out of 6 years is a great accomplishment, and super happy and proud that I can achieve something like that. It's just, like I said, playing at a high level consistently year after year is tough to do, and I'm doing it.
Yeah, you've had an incredible season, and we'll get into that. But despite what you just said, there are a lot of people winning on tour. There's only 2 people that have won the Disc Golf Pro Tour Points Series. It's you and somebody you're very familiar with, Paul McBeth. Talk about that parity and the ability of guys like you and Paul to continue to stay at the top when everybody's putting pressure on you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something where, like, you see kids like Kyle Klein and Eagle, they play great and they win a lot of tournaments. But, week after week, the mental grind of a long season, different courses getting thrown at you, different variables. Me and Paul have seen it all. We've been in all the battles. We battle with each other. We pushed each other so hard that we have raised the bar to where everyone else has to catch up. And so I think that's just a sign of our competitiveness, and we're both competitors and both want to win. But it's just a sign that how hard it really is to stay consistent. It's one thing to win one tournament and maybe fall off the next couple weeks and then bounce back, and it's almost like take a week off mentally. But in order to win and come back, and even if you're not winning, finishing in the top 5 is an accomplishment nowadays because of how talented the fields are. So if you're winning, and if you're not winning, you should you got to be in the top 5, top 10 every week to have a chance to win the title. This year's national tour or the Pro Tour, like this year, Pro Tour points it means a lot.
Yeah, and speaking to that, you did finish at the top 10 in every Disc Golf Pro Tour start you had, with the exception of only a single event back in Waco. So, you've spoken to the consistency. What memory stands out to you most? I mean, you had a really hot stretch in the middle of the season. What's the part of the season that you kind of take away and put in your pocket for this weekend?
Yeah, I think Jonesboro, Texas States, and the Preserve, those tournaments, and Ledgestone. I played obviously great at all those events. They're all different styles of courses. Some of them are bomber courses, some of them are wooded courses, but I think that's the skill set you need nowadays to play on the Pro Tour. You go to the East Coast in Vermont and Massachusetts at Maple Hill. It's a wooded venues, and then you go out west to like Portland Open. This year was on the ball golf course, bomber holes, rollers, and lots of distance you have to score on the course. So the Pro Tour is definitely turning into you can't just have one facet of your game firing on all cylinders. You got to have your distance up for the West Coast swing and your wooded game up for the East Coast swing.
How's it going, Ricky?
Hey.
Zach with the Disc Golf Pro Tour. I want to start with Disc Golf Pro Tour points champion, National Tour champion, and Disc Golf Pro Tour Tour champion. How's that sound?
It sounds great. I mean, it was something that I definitely was chasing beginning of the year. I want to, I see the standings, and we pay attention to that as players. We want to get as many points as we can at every tournament. Obviously, we want to win, but sometimes you don't have your best game, and you have to just fight through what may not be working and play to your strengths. And I think that's what it takes to be a true professional on the Pro Tour nowadays. Is even on your off days, you still have to find a way to score, find a way to scrap, and get a good finish, and work on what you're not doing well for the next week, and hopefully it gets better and gives you a chance to win. So that's what I'm really good at, and also making in-tournament adjustments if a certain part of your game is off, to be able to throw a couple bad shots and make tweaks in the tournament to fix your form and make it better for the rest of the event.
Well, to follow up on that, I guess I would ask, would a win here at the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship make this the year of Ricky Wysocki? You've obviously have been so consistent and were able to capture those 2 points title victories. Is this the win that you need to make this that year for you?
Yeah, I think that with the win here, it definitely solidifies. I mean, I think as of right now going to the event, it's pretty obvious that I was the best player all year. And I have the most wins, I have the most top 5 finishes. The tour standings will tell you that, but then if you just go back and look at the tournaments, it's pretty obvious. But yeah, I mean, I think it's something where I still want to win. I don't want to settle and say going into this event I'm the best player for 2021. But yeah, it's something that I still want to win every tournament, no matter whether it's consistent, good top top 4 finish, because I know that's what we're all shooting for, is making the final card on Sunday. But even making a run for the win and trying to win the Tour Championship here. This is what we all strive for, and you want to try and peak for this event at the right time.
Speaking of this event, it is a little bit of a different format than we see with most events on tour, with there being kind of a bye for those top players that were so consistent throughout the course of the season. How do you feel about the bye? Do you like advancing straight to semifinals? I know you're a big momentum guy. Can you speak to your thoughts on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's a little different. I mean, I think the players that have to play Thursday, Friday, kind of get in a groove, dial in the course, feel what it takes to play and throw shots under pressure. And so I think that there's a little bit of an advantage there, but I think that it eliminates, maybe having an off round Thursday or Friday and getting knocked out early. It bumps you all the way to the semis, and you get a good card of quality players. Obviously, if you're a 1 through 4 seed, and then 5 through 8 play together. So it definitely, the cards make a big difference too that you're playing on, because you can kind of gauge the field based on how everyone's playing. So that makes a big difference. It's kind of, turns into like almost match play down the stretch. Once you're almost playing against certain players on your card. If you beat so-and-so, you can advance to the next round. So it's very strategical. Obviously, nowadays you got to get a lot of birdies and play well, but you're also playing against the card mates if it comes down to that.
Do you enjoy that type of disc golf where you do kind of have to treat it more as a match play type of event where you kind of have to inject a little bit of strategy into your shots and your game?
Yeah, I think it's, super important. I mean, if it's, of course on paper it sounds great to shoot the hot round of the day, but, in all reality that doesn't do anything because your score resets the next day. So I think you gotta go into that mindset of, you can shoot a 9, 10, 11 under for the first round, but if I shoot a consistent 6 or 7 under just to get into the Sunday round, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to try and shoot a hot round and risk taking some bad kicks and bad bounces and risking shooting an even par or something like that. I'm going to play a consistent game that I feel like maybe I'm going to be 3rd or 4th sneaking in going into Sunday. That's something to where I really don't mind that at all because, like I said, you're resetting the scores. It's not like you're taking in a 4-stroke lead. If I shoot 6 under and the leader shoots 10, that doesn't do you any good. As long as you advance, that's all that really matters.
Let's talk about the strategy for this week. What are you going to lean on most? What do you see as the key to success?
I think there's a lot of sidearms through tight gaps. I mean, I think the person's sidearm that's the best, that's hitting the gap, I think it goes back to like last week, lots of sidearms out there at USDGC as well. But, what strikes me out here at Hornets Nest is tunnel shots, I'd say 400 to 450-foot sidearms through the gaps. And if you're not hitting the gaps, you can get in automatic bogey spots where if you hit early, you can try and scramble, but it's going to look like a bogey almost every time. So you got to get down the fairway before you hit any trees. And if you hit early, it's you're pretty much dead, and you're going to be getting a lot of bogeys. So I'm definitely working on my sidearm. These practice rounds really focus on hitting these gaps with power and getting as far as I can down the fairway, eliminating bogey, and giving myself good chances for birdies on these tough sidearm par 3s and par 4s into the landing zones.
All right, what's been the year, Ricky, so far? I know you're going to try to cap it off this weekend. Best of luck. We'll see you out there.
Thanks, guys.
Now back with Paige Pierce, who has now for the third year consecutively finished at the number one spot in the Disc Golf Pro Tour points. How does that hit you, 3 years in a row in the number one spot?
Yeah, it feels good. Finishing the season off being the number one ranked in the tour is obviously a sign that, all the tournaments leading up to now, I've been pretty consistent. So, unfortunately, that doesn't really matter going into this weekend. It's a whole different event. So, yes, I am the favorite, if you will, but there's still a lot of work to do this week, and every round is an elimination round.
Yeah, and speak a little bit more to that. I mean, obviously, as the sport grows, there's more media presence, more scrutiny of the top players such as yourself. And if you listen to some of the media chatter out there, they wonder where you are. But the stats show that you're still right here. Can you speak a little bit to the optics versus the stats on your year?
Yeah, I think it's totally like people are looking for drama. People are looking for a story. People want to know what happened, what's wrong. And sometimes you just don't play your best. And, I'm looking to turn that around this week. I'm not going anywhere. I'm still out here every week giving it my all. Maybe I haven't had some of the finishes I've wanted over this course of a few events. But, I think it just goes into the grind, the constant grind, and continuing to show up and continuing to try to work on what's not going well, whether that's mentally or physically, and just try to come out stronger each week.
And certainly stronger is a way you could describe the FPO division. You have so many people pushing you these days, so many new winners on the Pro Tour this year. Just from your experience and your veteran status on tour, how much harder is it to win now versus before?
I think, it's definitely hard. It's hard to win disc golf tournaments right now. That it shows in the women's, but also in the men's. The sport is growing, and I think that's a true testament to seeing all of these 18, 19, 20-year-olds out here competing for major titles, competing for national tour and pro tour titles. And it's something that's, very exciting to me as a veteran to see new faces, to play with different personalities, and to try to kind of find that rhythm of, do I want to kind of have these friendly conversations, or do I want to try to channel my inner Ricky and just focus on my game? So I think it's really hard to win disc golf tournaments, and that makes it that much more exciting to me.
And then speaking to that, you finished on the podium at every event except for one on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and that was a 5th place finish. So, top 5 all year. What would it mean to cap off this weekend with a win, being your second tour championship, first since 2017?
Yeah, I think, like you said, I've been on the top of the standings going into this event for the last 3 years, but I haven't won it in any of those events or any of ththose years. So it would mean a lot to me to show that number one ranking was for a reason. I'm here to win the tournament, and it would just mean a lot to me to overcome a lot of things that I've been working through. I'm growing every day as a human, and I think that a lot of times the world doesn't see me as a human being. So I think that it would be nice for me personally to just overcome all of these things and to come out with a trophy in my hand this week, and just would mean a lot to me.
To follow up on that, do you feel like that outside chatter is something that's motivating you as you head into another Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship weekend?
For me, I don't really know what the outside chatter is. I don't pay attention to it at all anymore. It's just the internal chatter, and that is louder than ever right now. So, it's kind of just trying to. I've been talking with a sports psychologist actually, and last night I had a meeting with him, and he said, everyone's always telling you to be in the moment and be present, but the way he put it really sat heavy with me, and he said, be where your feet are. And so tomorrow, or whenever, right now, like I'm in this press conference, so that is what I'm thinking about right now. I'm right here talking to you guys, not thinking about, tomorrow, but when I go and I'm on the course, that is going to be my goal, is just to be in that moment. It's my last event of the season, and this is what I love more than anything else, is being on the disc golf course, throwing discs through the woods. So just trying to stay as present as possible and to be exactly where my feet are, and whatever comes will come. It's a success no matter how you look at it. And, disc golf is growing, and here I am talking to you guys about discs and my feelings. What a crazy world.
What a crazy world indeed. Speaking of kind of the last 3 years, as you had mentioned, you've started this event on top of the standings. That means you've gotten a bye through that first round. How do you feel about that format? Do you like having the round off? We've heard kind of mixed things from different players throughout today about that format and the bye.
I like the bye aspect of it. I think it rewards the players that showed the consistency. The thing that I wish was a little bit different, or I would like it to be different. I don't think it needs to change, but I wish that you didn't play with those top 4 players. Maybe that it was like a random mix. I like in the years past, even though I've had that bye, I've went out and watched the competitors and kind of seen their game plan going into the next round. So I kind of know, okay, Missy plays holes 12 through 16 really well. Like, I'm going to want to have some strokes going in on those holes, stuff like that, examples like that. So, that way I'm kind of like prepared and I know what's to come. But with that being said, I haven't really been looking at scores at all for the past 3 events. So I might I think I'll still go out and watch my friends and peers compete on these bye days, but try to not internalize that and think that that's what I'm competing against in the next round. But yeah, I think it's fun to watch disc golf, just like you guys watching this. I love to watch disc golf as well. So I'm definitely going to be out there no matter if I have a bye or not, just watching.
Absolutely. You said something really interesting about kind of years past getting intel and data, and maybe you won't be doing as much of that this year when you're out there spectating, but you bring up a good point. This event, the scores reset each round. Mm-hmm. So do you feel like it plays a little bit more strategically, maybe like a match play as opposed to a typical stroke tournament?
I think towards the end of the rounds, it does kind of turn into a match play type of vibe, just because you could be leading your car. You could be, you have the box. Whether you're looking at scores or not, I always know where I'm sitting, give or take, because of my order on the box. So if I have the box the whole round, I know I'm probably pretty safe unless the entire second card is shooting hotter than us. But being that 1 through 4 seed card, chances are if I'm leading that card, I'm probably leading the 5 through 8 seed as well.
Definitely. I want to kind of circle back a little bit and just ask a question about the season overall. You've had lots of highlight moments, lots of podium finishes, lots of wins. Is there one win or one moment that kind of sticks out to you from the 2021 season as the most impactful or the most important for Paige Pierce?
Yeah, I have 2, and they're very different. Is it okay if I say 2? All right. So my first one is U.S. Women's for sure. It was a major championship, and I went wire to wire, and I went 100% putting inside the circle. So that felt so good to me to walk up to every putt and know, okay, this is in. And then the final round knowing I've made every putt up to this point, and now I'm thinking about that. And so there I'm having this pressure of like, okay, don't miss a putt. You're still perfect. You're still perfect. And to be able to finish it out like that was awesome. And then completely different reason was OTB. I wasn't wire to wire on that one. Me and Catrina Allen were head to head the whole event. And going into the last round, the last maybe 6 holes, hole 12 and hole 13, she had the box on me, and she she was in the bullseye, and we were only 1 stroke apart, so I knew I had to match that, and I did. Same thing on hole 13. She absolutely parked it, and I followed a suit again. So those were cool moments just to see that I had to make this happen if I wanted to win, and I was able to execute. Those moments as a competitor are always so fulfilling. Whether whether you shank it or you park it, it's just cool to feel that many emotions, and disc golf just makes me feel so alive, But to be able to overcome the pressure and to execute was really awesome.
Well, there'll be plenty more moments like that this weekend. Best of luck at the 2021 Tour Championship.
Thank you.
back here with Eagle McMahon, and breaking unfortunate news for you this weekend, man. I'll just turn it over to you. What's going on?
Yeah, so yesterday I was doing this little Joe Mez shoot. We were in this dark room, and I was just messing around. What it was essentially, I don't know how much I can disclose, but they're essentially shooting a video on like form comparison. They had a super expensive camera there, and just throwing some shots, and it wasn't one of the shots that we even filmed. I was just going in, and I just threw this kind of random, what we call it was a fake out 360, where you spin counterclockwise and kind of like essentially putt the disc forward. And I did that on top of my 360 motion. So I kind of just lunged my shoulder forward, and I'm pretty sure I dislocated my shoulder to a certain extent. And for like a good 20 seconds afterwards, my shoulder was just kind of like hanging there, and I kind of like push it back in, and I kind of felt faint, kind of felt like I was going to throw up. And in that moment, I'm like, oh no, that's definitely not good.
Well, I know everybody at home, all your fans at home are asking, how are you feeling right now? And have you gotten a chance to get it looked at and get an assessment?
I talked with Seth. He was kind of the first person I called from Disc Golf Strong, and I met with him this morning, and he did some range of motion tests, and they're all really good signs. There's not like excruciating pain in any which way, so he doesn't know without an MRI, but we're fairly certain, just based off his expertise, that it's not a tear or anything. It's just badly strained, and unfortunately, right now, that is not good, because I don't believe I'll be able to compete this week, or let's say I'm not going to compete this week just because I feel like my chances of throwing a score on this course that would put me in a competitive position are extremely low, and I'm not that good with my left hand yet.
Talk about, some of those emotions as you've had to make that really tough decision. Obviously, there's a lot of build up to an event like this, and, it hurts to sit out, I'm sure. How are you feeling, emotionally about it?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to keep my head high, because I'm looking at the year. I had a great year. There's so many things I did well, but in all honesty, with having a good year and proving that I can win events, seeing this event, I had my eyes on it. Ever since last season when I got eliminated, I wanted revenge on this, and for something to happen like this right before the event, it really is heartbreaking. And obviously, I would love to be out there competing, and I would probably push myself to try and play, but any sort of forehand, motion, just even faking it, just very soft, it just puts my shoulder in a position that does not feel good. So, we have a long off season, and I believe for myself, I've kind of proved it to myself that the off season's almost just as important as the actual season in terms of getting ready and preparing myself. I feel like I find a lot of my success in my off season, going through my personal evolutions and, finding new ways to cope on the course, strengthening my body. So I think not injuring myself further, and working with Disc Golf Strong and the other professionals that I have on my team, this coming off season will help me, have a better chance coming into 2022 to perform at an even greater level. So that's what I kind of have my eyes set on.
Well, now that we know that your season is officially over, recap it a little bit for us. Kind of give us how you feel about this. Of course, you were able to win 3 back-to-back Pro Tour events, starting at the OTB Open, ending at your repeat championship at the D-Glow. So how was your season grade overall?
I definitely, put it up there with a tie, or, a very close second to my best season ever. I proved to myself that I could do it a lot of the time, especially at an event like D-Glow, coming wire to wire and hitting so many outside the circle putts. And I even proved it to myself in the events that, kind of flew under the radar, like the, 5th, 6th, 7th place finishes. I wasn't feeling all that well, but I found it in myself to dig deep and come back. Especially, I didn't perform as well as I wanted at the majors, but, for how I felt, I still got top 10 in both of them, and that's not an easy thing to do with disc golf growing as fast as it is and seeing the competitive scale. So there's a lot to be proud of. I feel like I played very well on the wooded courses this year relatively. I feel like my game is definitely improving. So there is so much good to take from this year and build on for the coming years.
Just to follow up on that a little bit, there was so much good, so many high points to the 2021 season for you, Eagle. Is there a particular moment or tournament that sticks out as the most impactful or most important for you as a player?
Yeah, I would probably say that I really got a lot of value out of Las Vegas Challenge and D-Glow because usually, like for me, a final round it's almost different than the actual event. Just coming into that mindset, knowing that you could be walking off that property as a champion, it puts a lot more pressure on you. And at Vegas, if you go back, I really capitalized on the opportunity I had, and I ran away with it. And I was very proud of myself, and I definitely called upon that moment in my further victories in the year. And then D-Glow as well, that I was able to handle pressure from Kyle Klein, and so, those two moments are really impactful for me, and especially some other events, like I said, Worlds, of not doing as well as I wanted to, but keeping my head in the game towards the end to secure a decent top 10 finish.
Absolutely. And to kind of look forward now, given that this season has come to a close for you, unfortunately, is there anything you're looking forward to doing in the off-season to get ready for 2022? Or alternatively, is there anything event-wise in 2022 that you are starting to circle the calendar on now that you can kind of put this season to rest and start to look forward?
Yeah, so I'll just give you kind of a brief summary of what I believe my off-season is going to look like. A lot of training. Even though my shoulder is injured and it's probably going to take a few weeks to rehab and get better, maybe, let's not say months, but you never know. But I'm going to start training, whether it be my lower body, training my mind, my body, and also getting certain life aspects kind of sorted out that I haven't had a chance to this year, like a living situation, and I'm planning on doing van life next year. So a lot of evolutions for me as a person that hopefully make it a little less stressful for the tour next year. So I think that's something that's really important. Just kind of have all your ducks in the row, so when I'm out there competing, that's all I'm focused on. And I think that's really key in order to perform at a high level throughout the year. And in terms of events I'm circling next year, definitely the majors. Winning Pro Tours is great. I love it. I want to win as many as I can, but I really want to start putting some majors on my resume, because that's what's going to kind of put me up with some of the best of all time. So that's kind of the goal right now.
Very quickly, one last question. It looks like with you dropping out of the event, someone Aaron Gossage, is going to get into the Tour Championship. We talked about him back at the OTB Open. Any words for another Colorado native to come out here and compete?
Yeah, it's awesome that Aaron's getting in. Funny little story. I actually flew out to Charlotte, I guess it's almost 2 weeks ago, and I ran into him at the airport, and I was talking to him a little bit, and he said, yeah, I got on the bus today from Grand Junctions to Denver International Airport, and that's like a 3.5-hour bus ride. And I heard that he actually flew out of Charlotte literally just yesterday, and he got all the way back to Grand Junction, and he's doing that same travel just right when he gets home. So I can't imagine what that must be like, but I'm sure he's excited for the opportunity to have a chance at that 30 grand. So I'm happy for him, and I hope he can make Colorado proud.
All right, Eagle, best of luck in your recovery, and we'll see you next season.
See you next year.
Now back with Catrina Allen. Catrina, this is your third year in a row finishing second in the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings. I know you're a big fan of consistency and routine. That's pretty consistent.
Yeah, I'd say so. It means probably played pretty consistent throughout the season. Yeah.
Well, and certainly adding a world title on top of that's not too bad either.
Yeah.
What's kind of your overall feelings about your season as we get ready to go into this cap-off event?
Some really good highs. I felt like I can only think of like 2 parts of the season that I just really am not happy with. But I mean, it was a long season, and winning a world title after 7 years is something that I think even if I didn't win a single other event, that's pretty amazing. But yeah, like I've talked about, I stuck to my routine all season, even when I didn't want to, or even a little bit of the times it felt boring, or even when I was struggling. So I feel like at the beginning of the season, you guys asked me for a word, and it was discipline, and I feel like I did that till the bitter end.
Certainly. You've won 2 tour championships this will be the 6th that's ever been run on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Does that give you any advantage? I mean, I know those were a couple years ago, 2019 here at Hornets Nest being the most recent. Talk about that kind of momentum, that energy coming back to this course for this title.
I wonder if because it's just that one round, and I wonder if it gets me in that good mindset. I'm not really thinking about it. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like all I can do is this round, and that's it, and that's all I have. So can't really get too far ahead of myself or be thinking about too much, except for, And then it kind of seems like towards the end of the round, you kind of have to manage your score, or it's just a little different mindset. And I feel like sometimes in those situations, I can do better. For some reason, I seem to strive. So, yeah, I feel like it can be a little stressful, but sometimes those are my best moments.
So just to follow up on that,
Yeah.
it sounds like you enjoy the strategic element. These events play a little bit more like a match play than a regular stroke golf. But yeah, just speak to that a little more.
Yeah, I guess obviously you guys know me and probably sick of hearing it, but just like all season, got to have a game plan. But then, like I said, maybe coming down the stretch, there might be putts I get to lay up, or shots where it's like, okay, I don't need to force anything here, get to the corner of the par 4 or par 5 and just get the look at birdie easy par, things like that, where I can just kind of manage the course, as opposed to, yeah, it's just kind of different, maybe just fun compared to the same grind every weekend, being a different mindset.
Different routine.
Yeah.
Speaking of routine, I'm sure your routine will change as you go into the off season here. What does that off season routine look like as you gear up for another season?
So I actually am going to play 3 more events after this. Hub City Halloween, Myrtle Beach Open, and then Phoenix Ladies Open will be my last event of the season. And then it's put the disc down until January 1st. I'm going to try my hardest to not touch the disc until then. I just think for, obviously, because it's the off season, to take a little bit of time off, but just mentally and physically put them up. We have a trip planned to Cabo with friends, OU football game for Austin. What else are we doing? Going to the Lions game on Thanksgiving. So looking forward to some non-disc golf fun things. And then, yeah, you guys know me, January 1st, I'll probably be back to the grind.
Absolutely. And then just one last question for me. You mentioned a second ago there were only 2 parts of the season that you felt like didn't go the way you wanted, or were maybe low points.
Yeah.
Can I just ask what those were? What those
Yeah,
parts were?
they're both, the last few weeks have been really rough. I just haven't felt myself on the course. And both times Austin was kind of like, hey, there's this thing outside of disc golf that I think's bugging you, and I don't think you're realizing it, but it's affecting your game. And the one time that meant taking care of an issue off the course, and I think taking care of those always seems to it's really weird how life works, but yeah, I just found maybe as I put so much hard work in and self-growth that even when something little is going on, it's affecting me for some reason, and just, yeah, got to take care of that stuff, confront it.
Well, one last event to take care of this weekend here at Hornets Nest. What's the big strategy point? What are you keying on in order to achieve success this week?
It's going to be just as cheesy as it is, but like quieting that mind and finding that peaceful place on the course and just really not thinking about the results, not thinking about what, anyone else is doing. Especially here, I feel like you can start bad but still play well. You can be playing great and the back nine can show its teeth. So just like really realize that it's not over until hole 18 and just do my best to stay in every moment, be present really in that moment.
We'll be present watching you. Best of luck this week. Thanks.
Thank you. Good. Thanks, guys.
See you.
Okay.
See ya. Have fun. Now we are back with Paul McBeth here, just coming fresh off the major victory, the third USDGC title, and in very good position for the Pro Tour Championship. First off, how are you feeling?
Feel like I'm recovering from that week, so there's a lot of nagging little things, but I feel good. I won that one, but that's not going to help me win this one, so still got to work for it.
Famous words there. Talk about this weekend's, biggest payout in the history of the sport. Obviously, the field just gets tougher and tougher every year. And, by the way, only you or Ricky Wysocki has finished in the #1 seed in all 6 seasons of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So how does that all hit you as we go into Hornets Nest?
I wasn't even thinking about that. That's a pretty cool stat. But, this one I didn't have a good showing last year. I was knocked out my first one. So, I got 2 rounds to go. I've won the championship in the past, different kind of format, but this one, you got to be on your game, each round. For me, luckily it's only 2, and you got to have the hot score. So that's all it is attack, and there is no playing safe out here.
Well, you continued the streak. I believe you did get a win on the Disc Golf Pro Tour this year, which means that every single season on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, you've had at least 1 victory. As you kind of look back on the regular season, how do you grade yourself, and what are some of the highlights that you remember?
Played good in the big events, in the majors. Played okay in the national tours and the pro tours. So, obviously I want to win more this year. I really wanted to win more, and I didn't win a lot, and I wasn't that consistent. But I'm still the highest cash earner this year, which is a pretty big deal, and I have a chance to make it 6 figures earnings this year, which is unheard of in PDGA. So I think just Ricky and I can do that, especially after hearing what happened with Eagle. So, that'd be a pretty big milestone in disc golf. So as far as the season, it's probably like a C+, B- in my eyes. Could be higher if I got both majors, but definitely a lot to work on this off season, and right now injury free going into one more event going into the off season, which is pretty big for me. Pretty big, and I'm really excited for this off season.
I want to follow up on one thing you just talked about a moment ago, which is you feel like you have to work for it. Winning at USDGC won't help you win here this week. How do you avoid a USDGC hangover? Obviously, lots of emotions, big event, very physical weekend. How do you kind of reset and get ready to go into this one at your A game?
Well, luckily I'm already in the semifinals, so that's already kind of a win right there. But no, I mean, I think that's something I'm really good at, is not taking what happened last week into this one as in like I'm just going to show up and win. You know, that's not going to happen, especially these days. You know, still got to work for it. Still got to get out and practice and get out and play and work on what didn't work last week and continue to work on what is working. So just a lot of practice and you know, that's really it. Is you know, this to me, the tour is the fun part. You know, the off season's the hard work. This is where I get to have fun and go out and just play. Like, that's literally all I'm doing is playing. So it's just getting out there and doing that.
Absolutely. And you kind of just said it, you're automatically into the semifinals. How do you feel about the format? Do you obviously like the bye and kind of being able to skip those first 2 rounds of the tournament?
So last year I looked at it a little different. You know, I kind of was like, oh, I got some days off. This year I'm not doing that. You know, I'm going to go out and play each day anyways and just act like the tournament starts Saturday. It doesn't matter what happens tomorrow or Friday. It doesn't matter to me. I still have to show up on Saturday for the tournament. So last year I kind of just looked at it as that, like, oh, I made it to the semis. This year I have a tournament starting Saturday.
Do you think you might come out and watch any of your competitors as they play in those early rounds to gather intel or to maybe kind of think about how they might play the course?
I thought about it, but right now I have a pretty solid tooth infection right now. It's annoying me. So it's kind of hard to talk and hard to be out here. I've been able to take some medicine, come out here and play my practice round, and then go back and just kind of sit in a dark place. So made it out here for this, but look forward to going back to the hotel after this.
Paul, going back to last week, you know, a lot has been said about the emotion that you showed after you hit that putt. What was going through your mind? What was the moment of release right there like for you?
Like I said, I was playing. I was having fun. And that's kind of what I told myself. I think on hole 13, that final round, is like, this is fun. Like, this is why I do this, is for these moments. And I think a lot of it went back to kind of worlds of I thought I won that event, you know, on the final hole. You know, James had made 2 mistakes. Well, he made a mistake and then kind of just did his only play at that moment. And I was just felt like I was walking in for my 6th, and, you know, he took it just like that. So I wanted to live in that moment, and that's really what that was I wasn't going to let it get taken away. Like, I was going to leave everything I could there, and that was kind of what that was.
You know, a popular photo went around of you in the 2014 playoff,
Yep.
and you're standing by that stump, which I think you mentioned, you know, 7 years ago. What does that say about the longevity of your career to this point and beyond?
I mean, I think that putt represents, you know, that stump was probably 3 feet tall when I was there last time, and now it's kind of flattened to the ground, and that's kind of what that putt making it this year kind of felt, is that 2014 just got flattened. You know, it's gone. Now everyone's going to remember 2021.
As you look ahead to this weekend, talk about the strategy going in. You had an early exit last year. Do you learn anything? Do you make any adjustments? What are you keying on?
Definitely. I think these 2 courses from last week to this week are completely different. I kind of shifted my bag to fit this one. Don't really have many distance drivers in the bag. A lot of fairways, a lot of mids, putters. Kind of just looking at it as a whole new tournament, not kind of a continuation on, since we're in the same town. It kind of feels that way at times, but just showing up Saturday and playing the tournament that I'm entered in.
And then last question for you. It has been a big grind of a season. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on both on and off the course. You know, as you kind of look back at this, a transition time for the entire sport, given the number of years you've been on tour, what do you think that this will be, the legacy of this year will be, kind of looking back?
I mean, I think, you know, the last couple of years have really been that transition in the sport, and just kind of where Disc Golf Pro Tour, Disc Golf Network, the PDJ, and all that are kind of, you know, coming together and pushing the sport together, and then just being on these, you know, these big broadcasts is something that when I started playing disc golf professionally in 2008, people were talking about, like, oh, you know, in the next 5 years it's going to be huge, it's going to be huge, and we're finally hitting that next 5 years, you know, about 15 years later. So I mean, I feel like I'm in a great spot, you know, and seeing all this happen right in front of my eyes. So it's just exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing how far it gets pushed, because, you know, like in disc golf, I don't have any expectations going into these events. I want to win. I don't expect to win, but I know what I need to do, and it kind of seems like this, the meet aside, I don't have any expectations, but I just like seeing where you guys are pushing it and taking it.
Must feel good to still be the man to beat.
It does feel good.
All right. Best of luck this week, Paul. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
And back here with Missy Gannon, fresh off of the Throw Pink Women's Championship, or Throw Pink Women's Disc Golf Champion, I should say. We're here for the Tour Championship. I just want to read off some stats to you. In 2019, you were in 12th place coming to this event. Last year, 5th. This time, inside that top 4 for that bye. Your rise has just been meteoric and sort of with the elevation of the FPO field. How does it feel to be the person holding the banner for the growth of the division?
I mean, yeah, it's great. I remember last year having come in 5th place. I think there was I didn't really understand the points really, and I actually thought that if I'd gone to Jonesboro, I could have solidified a 4th place, but that was not the case at all. So like to finally get that top 4 is pretty cool, and yeah, I'm all about having an easy little bye right into the semifinals.
Well, you're also able to get your first tour victory this year at the Des Moines Challenge. I mean, a Silver Series victory, a tour victory, and then winning. I know technically it's an A tier. It must have felt like a major there at Winthrop.
Yes.
Just talk about your year in review. How do you grade yourself, and how are you feeling about the whole thing?
I mean, it's great. I knew I had all the skills to be able to put a season like that together. And I think that just over the couple of years being on tour, I've kind of been building up different parts of my game, even mentally, just being more prepared and ready for some of those pressure situations. And so, I always knew that I could win. I just hadn't put it together up until this year. So to be able to get, a few wins under my belt this year, including, Silver Series, it's amazing. And I just feel like I'm only getting started.
Well, what was that? Was there a single thing that just kind of finally clicked, like you said, to put it all together? Was it a series of steps as you kind of look back at it? What allowed you just to kick that door in and be that person?
Yeah, probably a few different things. I think just having confidence and deciding that I have what it takes to win, and so just believing in that So much of this game is mental, and so just knowing that just making sure that I feel confident and I'm aware that I'm able to do this has just been a huge step up from previous years, because I feel like although my skills have definitely refined over this past year, I think that just having that really confident mindset has propelled me up to the top.
And speaking of all that success, it's been a banner 2021, but is there a particular tournament or individual moment that sticks with you as you reflect on the season, just personally as a player?
Sure, yeah. I mean, definitely Des Moines has to stand out. It's my first big win, and to win it in such a fashion that I think is so fitting for me by making a huge, 28-foot putt to make sure that I win and not put it into a playoff, go into a playoff, is just, that putt is always going to stick with me. But, it's a very close second with this last weekend at the Throw Pink Women's Disc Golf Championships. There's just so much history in that course and in that event as for the USDGC, and so to be able to perform on that same sort of stage and take it down is something I will never forget, and I hope to be back there and do it again.
Absolutely, and you've written yourself a chapter in the history of that course, which is amazing. Speaking of that tournament, you're coming off of that huge win. It's just a few days later here. How do you avoid a Throw Pink Women's Disc Golf Championship hangover as you come into the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship?
Well, honestly, I think that having that little bit of a period in between me playing on Saturday, having that bye to the semifinals, I think is actually going to be super helpful for me, because I can kind of get all of the hangover out of the way over the next couple of days, and really just be able to sit back and watch some of my competitors do what they do, and watch the men play too. I think I'm definitely going to be tuning in, whether that's coming to the course and actually watching it in person, or watching via Disc Golf Network. I think it's going to be nice to just sit back and kind of relax and just wait for my time to show what I have.
What is your mindset in those 2 days? Are you planning on kind of taking a few days off to get rid of that hangover? Or is it, gamer mindset, studying the players that you're watching and kind of trying to gather intel before you do head into the tournament this week?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care what anybody else is going to do. I wish everybody the best of luck, but I know that I have a super solid game plan. I actually was here before the Throw Pink event to play the A tier that happened here, and I used that as an opportunity to get some competitive rounds on this course. There are a couple different changes, but for the most part, it was a really nice way to sort of, because I have that bye to the semifinals, I think that was a really good way for me to get those competitive rounds in on this course and really solidify my game plan. So coming into this week, I knew I didn't really have to go hard practicing. I already had a game plan. I just had some changes that I wanted to make, which I was able to execute when I practiced on Monday, and I might, if I'm allowed, come out here early tomorrow morning and play a practice round before the men get started in the afternoon, just to really make sure I know exactly what I'm doing, and then I can just chill out until Saturday.
Absolutely. So you've had quite a few rounds on this course already, and quite a few competitive rounds, it sounds like. What are the keys to success for this weekend?
It's getting clean off the tee and making putts. I mean, staying clean out here is a big deal, but there are definitely a few holes that are, in my opinion, must get birdies, and it's only going to help you, especially on the front nine. I think there's a few that, if you can get those under your belt and have a few strokes going into that back nine, which is, I think, significantly more wooded, then you're going to do pretty well. I remember looking at the scores from last year, and I think a 2 down was a hot round out here. I anticipate that it being higher this year, just because the level of play, I think, is so much bigger and better. But maybe not. Maybe 2 down's going to be enough. But either way, I'm going to try to get as many birdies as I can out here and just stay clean and make putts like I usually do.
That sounds like a great game plan. What do you think the hot round will be if it won't be 2 down?
That's interesting, because when I played the Clash, I think it was Natalie Ryan, who isn't playing this event, but she came out with a 6 down, and she's known to be a pretty big bomber person. She throws really far, but she was able to keep it clean enough out here to have pretty hot round at 6 down. I think we might see a 6 down. I don't think that it's going to be like the score you have to get at all, but it's going to guarantee you to move into the next round. But I don't know. I'm thinking maybe I'll add a couple strokes. Maybe it's like 4 down. Might be like a hot score out here. But I think if you're anywhere under par, you're probably going to be moving on.
Well, full of confidence. We can't wait to see you take the course on Saturday. Best of luck and rest up.
Thank you so much.
Back here with Adam Hammes ahead of the 2021 Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship presented by Guaranteed Rate. Adam, you've had a heck of a season so far this year. I just kind of want to, obviously you got the Silver Series win at the Resistance Disc Open, then your first Pro Tour win at the MVP Open. You've put yourself in position against some of the best in the world. How do you look back on your season so far?
It's been really great to look back and reflect on the season. I've just been, kind of thinking what, worked for me at that time, what's been successful, and, I'm just kind of just putting everything together that, I've kind of reflected on and, trying to build it up for this week. So.
And a big opportunity in front of you here at the Tour Championship, giant payout, chance to be in that Final Four, to make ESPN coverage. Talk about some of your goals as you try to finish out 2021.
I have a bye all the way to the semifinals, so I just want to hopefully move on to the finals and give it one last push, one last end of the season push for the 30,000. This is a big one. Course looking really, really good. I love the changes, and it's going to be a battle.
This season, you were 5th on tour in Circle 2 putting, 37% hit rate, and shooting like Steph Curry, man, from behind the three-pointer. Is that going to be the crucial weapon in the bag this week, or what's kind of the strategy that's going to get you going into those finals?
I definitely think long putts are going to benefit me this week. I think there's a lot of opportunities to make long putts. It's not going to be hard to park a lot of the holes out here. So, if my circle 2 putt is fallen and can be around 37%, I think it'll be a successful weekend.
So I want to circle back a little bit, kind of talking about the season in the rearview mirror here. You obviously had a lot of success, and you've won on the NT, on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and in the Silver Series events, right? What was the biggest win to you personally as a player? Is there a moment or a tournament that you kind of look back on from this season and go, that's the one?
Winning Masters Cup, getting my first, Elite Series feels really, really good, but just how much I love Maple Hill and how much I just love playing that course and being there. I'm going to have to go with Maple Hill. Maple Hill felt just a little bit better, the comeback and just how it went down. I think it was a little more interesting. So,
absolutely. And kind of talking about this event now, you mentioned it already. You're all the way through to the semifinals. How do you feel about the format? Do you like the idea of kind of having that bye and getting those first 2 rounds of the tournament off?
Yeah, I think all the buys are great. I mean, you get rewarded for how you play all season, and I think it's great. So, if you are in the top 8, you should get rewarded to move on and get, the higher payout and one step closer to the 30,000. So, I think it's great.
Absolutely. What's your mindset going to be in those first 2 rounds? Are you planning on watching any other players as they're out here to gather intel, or are you kind of taking some rest? And some
definitely plan on being out here. Probably come out and watch, Ben Calloway, AB, just some of my close friends, and just seeing what they're doing, see how they're pick their brain, and just sit back on the sidelines and be a spectator for a couple rounds. And I think it'll be kind of I think it'll benefit me a little bit. So kind of watch how it lays out and how everyone's playing. So.
And then my last question for you is, what are the keys to success this weekend? You feel, do you feel like there's anything beyond the Circle 2 putting that is going to be particularly important as you go into this last event of the season?
Yeah, just being extra slow on the tee pads. There's a lot of really tight gaps out here, so I just want to make sure I'm fully focused on my line and my my angle and my target. So just an extra deep breath and just try to smooth the shot and yeah.
Well, of course, we talked about your wins and kind of getting in the circle there as a player. Talk about your growth as a golfer over this season as you were able to, compete with the best in the world. And obviously, you got to fall short a bunch of times before you can break through. What's the season been like as a journey and growth as a golfer?
It's been great. Honestly, every single tournament is, a learning experience. So, I've grown so much from tournament to tournament to tournament. And once, I got that first win on the first half of the season, it gave me all the momentum I needed, confidence, it was a big, life, confidence booster for me to, push even more. And, that winning Maple Hill, I just think my head, has finally got to a place where I can compete with, the best mental players in the world. And, yeah, it's eye-opening. It makes this a lot more fun as a player. And then, yeah, it's just been a great year.
Would this be the biggest event that you could take down? It's the biggest purse.
Yeah, this would probably be the biggest one with everything here.
How does it compare to some of those other majors, like a Worlds or a USDGC in your mind?
I don't think it's going to be. It's very prestigious, obviously, but it's not as prestigious as a World Championship or U.S. title. I think it will get there in the future, I believe. But I think, I don't know. Yeah.
And sort of speaking to that confidence that you've grown throughout the season, you have had a sort of roller coaster season. There's been a few times like finishing outside the top 20. So if you could break it down for you when you're having an on weekend, what do you look for? What has to be there? What's the kind of on-off switch that you hit?
Are you saying just like how do I recognize being successful during a week? Yeah. Basically, just it can be like a lot of off the course things. It can be whatever city we're in. If I have good accommodations, stuff like that. A lot of off the course things in preparation for my mental side going into the course and my rounds. But if I feel comfortable at the course or I've been there a couple of years and I have more experience, I'm definitely going to be more comfortable. So I think just the tournaments that I did play good at, I've been to before and I've played, and I learned stuff what I can and can't do. So experience is the biggest, I think.
Well, you've certainly got a lot of experience. It's been it's a grinder of a season, having the Pro Tour, the National Tour, having the majors, getting the tournaments back after 2020. How are you feeling? Obviously, you're one of the younger guys on tour. You can snap back quicker than some of the others. But how does it feel at the end of what's really been a grind?
I'm slowly physically getting drained, but I'm almost completely mentally drained. It's it's a long season. It takes a lot to stay mentally there. I'm just grinding out this last week and giving everything I have. So yeah, definitely a little tired, but we got one more and I'm ready for it.
The last question: what's the off season look like? What are you most looking forward to?
I just want to better myself. Go home and I'm probably gonna get in the gym and just focus on couple things with that, and then I want to do some branding things with my name and stuff like that, and some off-season stuff. So just kind of take it slow, and eventually I'll probably go out to Arizona and start my off-season training, throwing
Awesome.
at least. So.
Well, best of luck, and we'll have fun watching the first rounds with you, and we'll just see you out there for the semis.
All right, thank you guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Adam.
it.
And right back with Sarah Hokom. Sarah, good to see you here. Top 4 once again in the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings, despite dealing with an injury earlier in the year. That's got to feel like a big victory.
Yes, for sure. The end of the season kind of stacked up pretty well for me, so I was able to jump a couple spots at the end.
Well, talk about, it's been a big season. It was a stacked late season, a lot of tournaments kind of right at the end. Talk about how you're feeling coming into the last event of the year.
I'm very excited. Honestly, it's this to be back at Hornets Nest. This is where I won a world title in 2012, and just being in a wooded environment for the biggest tournament of the year.
And been noticing lately out on the course, picking up some velocity with the putter too. Been translating to a lot of success on the course, helping you get to that top 4. Talk about the adjustments kind of in your game in the latter half of the season.
Yeah, I was noticing that I was just not getting a lot of power. I was struggling to make putts at the edge of the circle, and I just hit up Ricky, and I was like, bro, he taught me to putt originally, and I was like, where does this backswing work? And we switched a couple of things on my weight transfer, and then I think it's finally starting to transfer to good putts in the tournaments.
Well, certainly, if you're still finishing in the top 4 on Pro Tour standings, just kind of grade your season overall. Obviously, the injury for a little bit cut it short, but as you look back on the totality of all the events, how do you grade yourself, and what were the big highlights that you remember?
I'd say like a B+. I still struggle with some things that I know I can do better, so I definitely did not get an A. But overall, I feel like it was a good season, and even as I'm aging, I'm still able to keep up with the people that throw way farther than me. So that's encouraging. And just relying on my short game more than anything. And yeah, it's been a good year, and as far as like highlights, the Vintage Open was a huge highlight. I was actually injured during the tournament and was able to still play, and that was kind of an eye-opener for me to know that, on a course like that where I wasn't going to get a lot of birdies, that I could still come away with a win. And then honestly, another highlight for me was Missy winning Des Moines, because I also came into that tournament thinking, oh man, this is so long, all these birdies are out of reach, I'm not going to be able to really perform well, and that really affected my mental game. But then to watch her go out and not get a lot of birdies but still win the tournament was a real highlight for me, and kind of set me up for the rest of the season to know that, I don't have to get a lot of birdies, I just have to play clean.
Well, and speaking of that back half of the season, I don't know if you know this, but you finished either second or third in 7 of the last 8 events. Does that give you confidence as you get in here to the Tour Championship?
Yeah, just getting it done on the course with such a talented group of ladies to compete against. I feel like I've got a chance to win, and honestly, any of the 16 do at a tournament like this.
Absolutely, and it's a little bit of a different tournament, obviously with the bye and scores resetting each round. How do you feel about the format changes and kind of the bye being a factor rewarding those players that were more consistent throughout the course of the season?
Yeah, I think the bye overall is certainly an advantage. You don't have to get out of that first round. But it's a little bit of a disadvantage too. I find that over the course of a tournament, I usually find out, how when I'm like tournament power and tournament adrenaline, how that affects the shape of my shots. And out here, if you miss your shape by a little bit, you're going to hit trees early, or at least middle of the fairway. So it would be nice to have a very competitive round prior to playing in the semis on Saturday. But I'm going to still call it a win to actually not have to play the quarters.
Yeah, it is a little interesting, momentum versus rest, right? Do you plan on coming out to watch anybody in that early round that you're not a part of?
I will not be watching. I will not be watching live from the course, but I will be tuning in to DGN.
Gotcha. One thing you mentioned a moment ago is that you're proud of yourself, kind of being able to hang in there with all the young new faces on tour. Are all those young new faces extra motivating for you as you kind of find yourself able to compete with them and be able to hold up your game with theirs? Is that something that just motivates you to kind of continue to push forward each season?
Oh, sure. Yes, I've already got my off-season planned, the things I'm going to do differently, and the things all the things I'm going to train on and work towards. So yeah, as soon as the schedule came out, I was like, all right, it's going to be exciting, and just knowing that there's so much talent coming up makes it more imperative that I focus on training in the off-season.
What are some of those things that you plan on doing with your off-season schedule to make sure you're ready to go for 2022?
Definitely hitting the field and making sure that I can throw better backhands than I'm throwing now. And then, the daily putting practice, along with hitting the gym. So definitely need to make sure I'm in really good shape to start the season so that I can last the entire way.
And it has been a long season. How are you feeling after this just kind of grind of a stretch coming off of very little disc golf last year to maybe the biggest season ever this year?
Yeah, I would say I think Music City was about the peak of the fatigue. It was really rough to even get out and practice. I was just very tired. My whole body just felt like I didn't have enough power and focus. And I was feeling, a lot of the other players were expressing the same sentiment. So that was kind of it. But then, getting to throw pink last week was very invigorating to be amongst, all of the glory that is Winthrop and the fun that was involved there. So that kind of reinvigorated me a little bit. And then not having a big travel, having to travel very far to get here also was really great. So I'm feeling pretty good. I feel pretty fresh, honestly.
One thing that most people that follow your game would know is that you have one of the best forehands on tour. We've heard players say that they think that that's a key to success this weekend. Do you feel like you have the advantage with having that shot dialed in?
Sure. Yeah, anytime there's woods, I do think I have an advantage. But that you still have to hit the lines. And sometimes it's kind of ironic. It feels like sometimes those easy sidearms that seem like gimmies, those sometimes are the ones I miss because I don't have to focus as hard, and then somebody with maybe a pretty just barely workable sidearm could get that birdie, and I'm always like, why? How is this possible? So yeah, extra focus on the easiest ones for sure.
And then the last question here, you talked about having success here at the 2012 World Championships, of course, going down to the wire with Catrina Allen a couple years ago at this very event. What is it like having those kind of memories in your back pocket, when the fatigue sets in, when the gaps just seem that much tighter on this course, is that something you can pull from?
Yes, absolutely. Knowing that I've been in the hunt and I've come from behind and won, I've come from behind and lost, but learning those lessons, like with Catrina Allen, I remember my putting was starting to go awry right at the end of that round, and so I rushed over to the practice basket, and I remember just trying to get a bunch of reps in to just try to feel good about my putt, and then when I got to the tee, I missed my tee shot. So it was like I needed to remember. So I learned there that, don't worry, you know how to putt. Just take some time, meditate a little bit, take some breaths, and be ready to throw that tee shot, and just have confidence in what you've done in the past. Having all of those lessons to be able to pull from and to learn from to take me into this weekend is definitely something that I am using.
Well, we'll take a breath with you. We'll see you in the semifinals, and best of luck this weekend.
Thanks.
And now we are here with Kyle Klein. What a season you've been having so far, man. A Silver Series win at the Mid-America, the first big win on tour at the Idlewild, and then such a deserving performance last week at the USDGC. How are you feeling in this moment right now?
I'm feeling great, just knowing that after a couple of rough events, just couldn't get stuff going, that I came back for the first or second biggest tournament of the year and was able to put it together and almost come away with a win. And I have a lot of confidence coming in this weekend, so that definitely helps.
We'll talk about, getting that. Let's go back to Idlewild for a second. Getting that first big win on tour, and then you're saying kind of struggling after that. What do you go through? What did you go through mentally, physically, emotionally, and how did you kind of get it back to being right there at the end at Winthrop?
Yeah, so after Idlewild, my car that I was driving was having some issues, and I had to replace it and buy a new car. And in that stretch of 9-10 days, I was only able to play half a round to only like a full round in that stretch of 10 days. So I just didn't get any practice, and I walked into MVP Open and Green Mountain Championships with very little practice over the last 2 weeks or so. And I knew I had it in me, but I just had to make sure I got back to practicing almost every day. And once I did that, I was able to regain confidence and bring it all together for last week.
What's it look like on the course when you're bringing it all together? Is there a certain, one thing that you just kind of know, hey, it's my day, it's my weekend? Is it a series of things in the preparation? How do you get to that top-tier Kyle Klein level?
If there's one thing that's going to kind of separate me from how I normally perform, it's going to be circle 2 putting, for sure. That's kind of the thing all season that's been lacking, kind of. But if that gets going in any particular round, and I'm making a couple in the front 9 or front 6 or however many holes, I know I can keep that going, and it'll be a great round or tournament.
Well, we're here at the end of the season. It's been a long, grindy season for everybody, yourself included. What are you looking forward to on this course? Kind of talk about your strategy and how this course fits your game. What are you keying on?
The main thing I'm keying on is throwing slower speed discs and focusing on the gap hits, not so much get the distance to the basket. Mainly hit the gap is the most important thing. So that's going to be what I'm focusing on and what I'm really relying on and practicing.
Just to go back to last week for a minute at USDGC, you were on the chase card. You were not with the leader when you were making your push. Did you know the stakes when you were on the green of 18?
I did. I was talking with my buddy Joey. He was caddying for me, and we were walking up to the green. And as I walked up to the putt, I was still undecided on what to do. But the majority of my thoughts were lay this up, make him go birdie to win. But I stepped up, and I was a lot closer than I had thought. And I stepped up, and I said, I can make this. I mean, I'm going to put the pressure on him to birdie tie. And just came up barely short. It was downhill into a headwind, and I thought I read the wind right. I thought it would lift, and it just never did. So,
absolutely. Yeah. And such an intense and exciting finish to that tournament. How do you kind of reset and get out of USDGC mindset and into, okay, here we are for Tour Championship week mindset?
I just gotta know. I just tell myself it's a new tournament, but you've done this before. You just did this last week, so I just gotta keep that mindset that I can do this. That I performed well here last year, and I think there's no reason why I shouldn't make a run at this.
Absolutely. I want to get your thoughts on the format. It's a little bit of a different format than a normal stroke play tournament. The scores reset every round, and it's maybe a little bit more strategic, kind of like a match play event.
Yeah.
Do you like that kind of golf as opposed to a normal type of tournament, or no preference? How do you feel about that?
I think I like it. I mean, my second year playing this event, and I think I like definitely the buys. Like different players get different buys to different rounds based on their seeding. I definitely like that. It kind of shows who's performed over the course of the season. They get a little bit of advantage coming into this, and yeah.
Hey Cal, from PDGA Rookie of the Year last year to talking about forcing Paul McBeth to make a putt and to win USDGC. Now, how are you processing this? How are you handling all your expectations and pressures on yourself?
I don't really know. I'm just kind of I kind of went through this when I was playing amateur divisions a couple of years ago. I was near the top, if not at the top, in most of the tournaments I played, and I just tell myself I've been up at the top in most tournaments, so it's not much different.
Kind of want to take one moment to just reflect on the season for another moment here. You have had a really big season and taken down some really big tournaments. Is there a moment or a tournament that sticks out in your head as the most impactful or most important to you as a player for the 2021 season?
I'd say definitely Idlewild. My win at Idlewild was just a culmination of multiple weeks come together of playing really well. And in that stretch of 4 or 5 Pro Tour Elite Series in a row, I got second at Deglow, not great at Preserve, but then Ledgestone. After they canceled that final round, I definitely had a lot of momentum going into that tournament, and I was able to carry it over and win Idlewild. But I think that was just kind of the big culmination of all the stuff I'd put together before that.
You're very poised in the answers here when you're on the course, when you're talking about being there and it's just the next level of competition. How much of that do you attribute to performing on the amateur tour, what's now known as the NADGT, and sort of having that stepping stone?
I attribute a lot of success to that. Just being there, like being at the high stakes, competing for big prizes. Actually, at that tournament, knowing that I've been here before, I've been on the lead cards, and I really know how to handle being on lead cards and filmed cards, and yeah.
So what does that mean for your expectations into this weekend? Are you coming in clean? Do you have a goal in mind for where you want to finish?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's goal coming in is they want to win, but I think first and most importantly is make the finals round, move on from the semis and get myself to the finals, and then I will move on from there.
Sounds good. And, of course, after that it's going to be the end of a long and winding road, a big season. What are your off-season plans? What are you most looking forward to after this week?
I think my plans right now are going to be looking for somewhere to go for maybe a month or two down south where it's a little warmer. Where I can be playing almost every day, because in Michigan it's not the friendliest of weather in the winter. But yeah, I think it's just going to be trying to find somewhere down there for a month or two before the season starts, just to kind of get my body back into playing every day.
All right. Well, big competition up this weekend. Wish you the best of luck, and we'll see you out there.
Thank you.
And now back with Jessica Weese ahead of the 2021 Disc Golf Pro Tour Tour Championships presented by Guaranteed Rate. Jessica, this is your second consecutive year finishing sixth in Pro Tour points. That's got to feel good to be consistent.
Feels good. Always glad to be here competing at the final event for the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and I'm really happy to be representing, and I love Hornets Nest, so looking forward to it.
Well, let's talk about Hornets Nest for a second. You obviously have a lot of ways you can attack off the tee, the lefty shot, the righty forehand and backhand, veritable switchblade of options. What are sort of your keys to attacking this course?
Well, during practice, I like to break it up, kind of play the front nine and throw a lot of shots, and then play the back nine and throw a lot of shots in 2 different days. So yesterday we went and played the front nine. I threw multiple shots, trying to figure out if I want to go sidearm, backhand. Threw a couple backhand rollers out there that turned out pretty nice. So I'm kind of on the fringe with a couple of those holes. So it kind of just depends on how I feel when I walk up to it day of.
What What sort of is your mental checklist when you stand on the tee and kind of decide between all those options? What's your kind of first, second, third reads?
So my first read is definitely the wind. I have to look at the wind, see how the wind's playing, if it's favoring the backhand or if it's favoring the sidearm. Sometimes I throw really understable discs, so if it does happen to be a headwind, I might have to switch up my disc selection. I never really like to write down exactly what disc or exactly what shot I'm going to be throwing, because that could change day of. You could come up to the course and the wind is completely different. So, I just like to go into it and feeling confident throwing any shot.
And then give me a season grade and some of your thoughts on your season as a whole. Obviously, there's been a lot of events. We had the Pro Tour, we had the National Tour back, we have majors. How do you feel on the whole?
Feeling pretty good. I want to say that I had around 8 to 10 top podium finishes this year, so I know I have it in me. I really been trying to dial in my putting, because I know drive for show, putt for dough, and especially out here at Charlotte's Nest, you really got to dial that putting in, because you're going to have a lot of opportunities out there.
And just kind of to look at the season as a whole for a minute, is there a moment or a tournament that kind of sticks out to you as the biggest highlight or the most impactful to you personally as a player?
I definitely played good at I want to say that I played really good at the Des Moines Challenge. I was right there nipping at Missy's heels, and I know I was feeling really confident going to the last few holes, and it could have been a switch up on the very last hole. So I know Des Moines Challenge was probably my best one of the season yet, and I know there's a few out there, but they all kind of just mix together. I want to say this is my 30th tournament of the year, so I've been going pretty hard. I can't really say which ones I did great at and which ones I didn't do so well at.
Sure, and maybe not on the tour, but you did have that big A-tier win at the Majestic. I imagine that's one of the big highlights, and like you had mentioned, tons of podium finishes and top five, so very successful 2021. What would success look like for you next year coming off of a season like this?
Well, during this off season, I'm probably going to focus on practicing putting more and not trying to go out and play, a lot of courses. I'm really just going to try and dial in how I feel confidently around the putting circle. And I noticed that this year my Circle 2 putting wasn't the greatest. And so maybe halfway through the season, I started actually practicing more Circle 2 putts than Circle 1 putts. And it's been paying off. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Absolutely. As you come into this weekend and look at the Tour Championship, how do you feel about the format? It's a little bit weirder. It's maybe more of a match play style of golf than a typical stroke tournament. Do you like the buys? Do you like scores resetting each round? Speak to your thoughts on that a little bit.
I've never been a huge fan of the match play, hole by hole. It's really, I just like to focus on each hole individually, and match play, you can only gain one stroke at a time, which is nice in some perspectives, but I don't really have the go for it mentality for match play. And I noticed that when we played last time during the match play, there was a few moments where I'm looking back at it and I'm like, man, I really should have just went all or nothing, because that could have been my make or break you moment. So I'm looking forward to it this weekend.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you look at with this course as a key to success? What would propel you to have your strongest performance this weekend?
I noticed that out here there's quite a bit of low ceiling approaches or low ceiling putts when you come to them. And so I've been really trying to dial in my spin putt. And I think that's going to have a huge play in it, because some people are used to, not throwing low ceiling shots, and I think I have quite the advantage there playing with, flippy discs and having a spin putt, and, I have a great sidearm approach, and I've been throwing the Sonic really well this year. So, all of that is a huge combination, and I'm looking forward to this tournament. I love Charlotte's Web.
Well, there's one. This is it for the rest of the year, and as we mentioned a couple times, it's been a long year. Talk about the fatigue and sort of the stress of being on the road and playing 30 events, like you said. I mean, it's greater than half the weekends of the year you have been in competition.
Yes.
Does that make you sharper towards the end? Does it wear you out? Where are you at with that?
So I have noticed that coming down the stretch for the last couple years now, I've been on tour for I think the last 6 or 7 years, and I used to practice so much, and I would feel like I would get worn out by the time the tournament came to time to play. And this year, I feel like, I've played these courses so much, I kind of know where not to land or where I need to land. And I haven't been practicing as much on the course, but more or less practicing my upshots and practicing my putting. So I'm going to feel a lot more confident there, and that's pretty much it. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you compete. Best of luck this week, and good luck capping off the rest of the season.
Thank you.
I'm back again with Calvin Heimburg. Calvin, long season, a lot of events this year, a lot of ups and downs. How are you feeling right now?
Feel pretty good. This is the last one, so just giving it the rest of, everything I got left, and hoping to do the best I can.
How much you have left in the tank? It's been a big year.
Enough to play this event and drive home.
Just enough.
Just enough.
Well, let's talk about this season a little bit, man. Obviously, we didn't see you in the winner's circle as much as last year, but it might surprise you to know that you had your career best bogey percentage, the lowest percentage of bogeys on the Disc Golf Pro Tour in its existence at only 8%. Talk about that kind of incongruity. You found the winner's circle, but you bogeyed less this year. What's kind of the difference there?
Not really sure. It just didn't quite put together enough hot rounds really to come out on top. I was definitely in contention quite a few times. Just wasn't able to put together that final hot round to kind of make the push as many times as I would have liked. But overall, it was a pretty consistent year. Had a few low points, but nothing that lasted too long. So can't be too upset with it. But definitely a lot of room for improvement for next year.
Speaking to consistency, this is your second consecutive year finishing. You're getting a bye to the semifinals in the Pro Tour Championship. Just talk about the importance of having that kind of extra day off and that advantage.
Yeah, getting a bye to the semis pretty much means I only need to play 2 hot rounds out here. I don't have to really fight for my spot. I think You know, it might help some of these players being able to like kind of feel competition and get a couple days in if they push from like the first round. But overall, I think anyone would take two rounds worth of buys. Just definitely gives you better odds of winning it in the end, I feel like.
So talk a little bit about this Hornets Nest course. Obviously familiar with it from last year in a similar scenario. What did you learn last year? What are you going to use as you go to attack? What are you keying on?
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy to end up in really poor positions on this course, so throwing good tee shots is key and keeping yourself on the fairway. I mean, as any course, putting is important, but I feel like this course, more than any, it's just keeping yourself on the fairway, because as long as you're on the fairway, it's pretty easy to get up and down for par and eliminate the bogeys. But as soon as you get off, it could be hard to progress and actually try to save par. So making sure your tee shots are clean is probably the biggest key to succeeding at this course.
Speaking of the buys and you kind of going straight through to semifinals, what do you plan on doing with those first 2 days or the first 2 rounds that you are not a part of? Is your mindset more rest, or will you be out here watching and kind of studying other players that you may face in later rounds?
I'm definitely not going to be out here studying any other player. I know how I want to attack the course, so watching them doesn't really do me any good. I may be out here later in the evenings touching up on a few holes that I might not feel as confident on once they finish their rounds of competition. But definitely a lot of rest, get practice putting reps up, and then maybe a little bit of throwing, you know, in the evenings.
Absolutely. Kind of looking back on the season as a whole, just for one more moment here, do you reflect on any individual moments or tournaments that were personally impactful, or does it kind of all get wiped away and just kind of on to the next week, on to the next year?
Yeah, I don't really do too much reflection on, you know, the events, especially not during the season, because it's all pretty busy and it's just by the time you finish one, it's pretty much off to the next one. So there really isn't much time to sit and reflect. And to be real, I don't really reflect too much, because really all that really matters is the next event ahead. I mean, it doesn't really matter what I did last week or the week before, because it doesn't impact the event that I'm trying to play and win at the current moment.
Would winning this event kind of feel like a major victory? Would you put it on the level of some of the other prestige events in our sport, like a Worlds or a USDGC?
I don't think it would feel the same way, just because it doesn't have the history. It just hasn't existed for quite as long, and it's a different format. So like, it's just, I don't know, it kind of feels weird not like keeping your score from every round. Like, it's definitely a big win. There's a lot on the line, and it's definitely gaining notoriety every year that this event happens. But I still don't think it carries the same weight with the fans or the players. And I'm not sure if that's just because it hasn't existed very long, or if maybe it's the format. But I definitely see this event, you know, gaining, you know, more weight as it continues and as the Pro Tour grows.
Absolutely. We're getting to the end of a very long season. Last year coming off of very little disc golf, at least kind of competitively on the biggest stages, and into this year where maybe is the biggest year in terms of events and kind of going week to week. How do you feel? I mean, does that kind of grind take a toll on you physically and mentally, or does your lack of reflection allow you to kind of be ready to go each and every week and not really feel the weight of the season?
I think I definitely feel some of the weight of the season. I mean, I haven't been home since February, so I mean, I think that would take a toll on anyone. So I definitely feel the weight. Just because I don't reflect on it doesn't mean I don't feel, you know, sleeping in a different bed every week. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy that it's almost over, and I'm happy to be able to get a break here soon.
Do you have any plans for the off season? Anything that you kind of are looking forward to here as we get to the closing stretch?
Definitely just looking forward to going home for a bit and doing a little bit of nothing for a while. Just being able to relax and just kind of recover.
All right, and you know, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but you talked about hitting the gaps there. Is there any particular part in this course? We just talked to Jessica Weese, and she was talking about how the front nine and the back nine can play completely differently, and sort of you can be in it on one nine, out of it on the next.
Yeah.
How do you attack that mentally, and where's that pinch point as far as scores go on Hornets Nest?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, you can play good on either nine. I mean, there's going to be ups and downs no matter what. And I kind of feel like if you really shoot well on the front nine, you don't have to be as aggressive on the back nine because you're going to be in a good position. It kind of happened to me last year in the first round where I played really well on the front nine. I didn't have to play that aggressive on the back nine because I was pretty much already into the finals. And honestly, I played well in the back nine that round as well, just because there was really no pressure to do well. It was just very easy going. So I don't know if there's really any like easy spots on this course. I think anytime you let your guard down, it can definitely bite you, and you can definitely take some big numbers. So you always have to kind of keep your guard up and throw your shots with intention.
All right. Well, best of luck this week. Final event of the year. We'll look forward to seeing you out there.
Thank you.
And back with Kona Panis here ahead of the 2021 Tour Championship, presented by Guaranteed Rate. Kona, big year for you. First win on tour back at Waco. Seems like almost a lifetime ago. Big congratulations again once on getting engaged. Like, a huge year for you. How do you kind of reflect on it as we go into the final weekend of the season?
Man, it's going to be hard to top 2021. Like you said, engagement to Colton, that's a huge step for us. And then I actually went and looked at like my PDGA, places this past season, and lots of top 10s, a few 25s in there you sprinkled in. That's when the putting was off, and it's crazy to see just how far, how many places we've been to outside of just disc golf, and this year's been cool.
Second consecutive year, finishing 7th in the tour standings on the Pro Tour. That's got to feel good to have that consistency.
7th? I thought I was 6th. Am I tripping? I'm 7th?
It's either 6th. One way or the other.
It's
the same
Sorry.
buy. So if I'm wrong, forgive me.
No, that's a big accomplishment for me. I don't remember what I finished last year. I want to say maybe 8th or 9th. But a goal for this season was top 10. I was in the semis, for a while, and then I think Sarah Hokom came back from being an injury, and then she started just playing really well. Like she talked about at the match play, she's the queen of clean. She's just a great putter, very, very clean, consistent player. And then I think Hailey got this, or Missy got the bye, and she's been having an outstanding year. So it's all good. I'm excited to battle it out on Friday.
Yeah, like you said, Missy Gannon, another first victory on tour this year. There's been so much parity and so much competition. Even back to last week, Missy taking that down, you coming in very strong second place. How do you see and how have you noticed this division kind of evolving and growing in terms of the talent level?
Yeah, I was listening or watching the third round of the Throw Pink Women's Disc Golf Championship, and I was listening to Hailey King talk, and she mentioned, back in the day, you could get away with not having a super strong putt, and you could just have a really strong drive and really just take over the division. And nowadays, you have to have every shot. You have to have the forehand, especially in these woods. I think Hornets Nest, the forehand's going to come into play a lot. But to have the putt to finish the hole, I think has been like the biggest thing this year, and seeing just how strong some of these putters are. Like Hailey, when her putt is feeling really good, is super on, and then Missy, her putt's always been strong, and now everything else is catching up. So competition is fierce, and I'm excited to see what it looks like next 2022 when everybody's had that off season and maybe work on some things that they weren't really figuring out during the season.
Well, and that's something you haven't been afraid to do, to change up the game, to work on the putt, to switch it up. Talk about that ability and that flexibility to just kind of keep working on the game even during the season and taking it to the next level.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who kind of just stick with what they have because they don't want to work on something in the middle of the season, something new. But I look at it as I want to be top 5. I want to win these events, and I know that what I need to do is figure that out. And if that's not working, switch it up, find something else that I know is going to get it in the basket. I've been very transparent about that, almost too transparent. But, I know what I need to do to be the best.
What are some of those things that you're looking at working on as you go into the off season and prepare for another season next year?
Yeah, it's all about the putt. Right now I'm liking the way that the putt I have feels. It's very spinny. I feel like I don't have to jump from like 35 feet. I'm getting that extra spin to the basket. But yeah, mostly the putt and then a backhand up shot. I want to be able to step up to a shot and know, okay, this is a backhand, and throw it without forcing a forehand, which I've done really well in certain situations, but I want to be able to have both very consistently.
Absolutely. Coming onto this course here at Hornets Nest, what do you feel like some of the keys to success are? What would it take for you to kind of get through to the final round and take home the win this weekend?
For me, it's disking down. It's not getting too aggressive. There's some holes out here where I'm like, I would love to mash on like an Emperor and get max distance, but breaking down the holes, realizing, okay, this is a par 4. I just need to get in this placement, putt, get my birdie, without getting super aggressive and maybe kicking off a tree with a high-speed driver. So definitely picking out my placements and playing smart.
Absolutely. And then to kind of pivot backwards just for one moment to last week at the Throw Pink Women's Disc Golf Championship, you were making a charge in the final round, really kind of storming back and securing that solid second place finish. How do you reset kind of to come off of what I'm sure was an emotion-filled and intense kind of final round there to get ready for the Tour Championship and avoid a hangover of any kind?
Yeah, if anything, I'm using last week as a momentum shift. It's to push me and have that same momentum I had last week. I was feeling very confident. I had someone message me. They're like, "You looked so stoic and very focused," and I was. Like, I had some ladies on my card that were kind of having a really good time and giggling and kind of doing their own thing, and I was just like kind of on my own, really focused, because I wanted to play really well and I didn't want any distractions, and I can see myself being like that this week as well.
Absolutely. What would a win at the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship mean to you?
I mean, $30K, baby, that's crazy, for one. That's going straight into savings and maybe some investments. But, I mean, disc golf is getting to a place where we're getting taken more seriously by more people, and to have that title on top of some of our best athletes in disc golf, that'd be a huge goal that I didn't even have,
Absolutely. And then I guess my kind of final question would be, as you look back on the season as a whole and all of the great moments, the win at Waco, so many different podium finishes, How would you kind of grade yourself? Was this an A+ Kona Panis season, or is this somewhere in the B range? How do you think about your performance on the year as a whole?
I'd give it a B-, just because I have such high standards and expectations, and I met most of them, but not all of them. But I will say, outside of just performance, I've learned a lot just about myself. This year, it's been crazy with just figuring out, the anxiety part of disc golf and kind of working through that mentally. I've never had to experience that, and that was like a lot of learning for on that. But then just my play, like seeing my distance, like coming here from last year, like I'm throwing a lot more Mako 3s. I'm not having to throw like a destroyer on some of these shots. So my game is getting so much better, and it's really cool to see.
Take me through one more time. You sort of answered this before, but big keys to success and your expectations for the last event of the season.
I told Colton I want to make it to the last round. I think last year and the year before I may have gotten kicked out the first round, just like didn't play really consistent. I think I got into a lot of trouble. I think I listened to a few more opinions rather than myself and played inside my own game. So expectations, I want to get to that last round, and I want to be at least like 80% inside the circle one. So that's going to be a huge goal for me this week.
Well, we'll look for you to achieve those goals, and we'll have fun watching it. See you out there.
Thank you, guys.
And we're back with our reigning world champ, James Conrad. James, USDGC champ 2019, world champ 2021. That's 2 out of the last 5 majors that have been run. But the Pro Tour has been a little bit of a different story for you this year. Just kind of talk about some of the ups and downs that you've had throughout the season.
Yeah, this season's been, like you said, up and down. I feel like every single event I've had like a lot of highlight shots, and I've had my moments, but it's been kind of few and far between when I've really been able to put all the pieces together, so to speak. Like maybe one week my putting's super dialed in, but then I'm finding the OB, or another week I'm not quite as clean on the putting green, but I'm driving really well. So just a matter of keeping that focus up for the entire tournament and trying to play my best.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about, like you said, obviously really big success on the major stage, and then those struggles that you mentioned on the Pro Tour stage. Like, how do you sort of get through that as your expectations have to continue to rise? Your popularity as a player is rising. You've shown us what your ceiling is. Right. How do you deal with those expectations?
I guess that's one I'm still figuring out. I feel like even when I have an event that's not up to my potential, when I come in at 20th or 30th place or something, like a poor week for me, I take some comfort in the fact that I can have a bad event and I'm still placing around 20th place or something. So yeah, just try not to be too hard on myself. It's a long season. It's really difficult to maintain that focus and to keep the high level of play throughout the entire year. So just trying to learn from the mistakes and trying to remember the mindset I'm in and try to have something to fall back on when I have successful events. Try to remember that as something that I can kind of tap back into a little more often.
Well, and certainly after a long and winding season, you still find yourself qualified for the Pro Tour Championships here, which, obviously a big opportunity for you here this weekend. Talk a little bit about your preparation leading into this week at Hornets Nest.
Yeah, I've gotten in a few practice rounds already at the Hornets Nest. I really enjoy this course. It's challenging, but it is. It's somewhat straightforward. It's like, here's the gap. Try to make it 400 feet down this gap if you can. So it's just trying to keep the putting stroke feeling good and trying to get my run-up dialed in on these tee pads. And it's a pretty quick turnaround from US, so everyone's, I'd say our games all feel like they're going to feel, they're hopefully good, and just trying to kind of get comfortable on the course and, like I said, the tee pads and just get ready for it.
Just kind of to follow up on that a little bit, do you feel like you have a game plan as you head into the Tour Championship here this week? Like you said, you've been dialing it in on the tee pads, trying to get comfortable with the course. What would that game plan be for you as you head into this weekend?
I'm not playing until Saturday, so on Saturday we'll have 12 people playing, the top 8 plus the 4 that qualify from Friday, and so I think it'll take a good score to make the finals. I'm not sure what that might look like. I'd guess at least 7 down or so, maybe even a little better, but hopefully keep it clean. A lot of the holes are pretty tough to birdie out here, so pick up the birdies where I can get them, and hopefully no bogeys, I think will give me a good chance.
And you kind of said it, coming off of USDGC, coming off of a very long season. Do you feel the weight of the season at all, mentally, physically, as we kind of get to the end of what has been a real grind for many of the players on tour?
I think I feel good physically. It's definitely been mentally a grind just to try to reset each week, and I feel like we've had quite a few times this year where it's like, okay, you have to drive 12 hours and prepare for a tournament this week, and it would be nice to see more like every other week for an Elite Series event, just to give us a little more travel time and a little more prep time moving forward. I think that would make the season feel like less of a grind, and it would make everyone a little more excited for each event if you weren't like, shoot, I got to hurry up and get to Delaware and practice or whatever it might be. But
yeah, absolutely. And kind of feeling that mental toll. I'm sure you're excited to have a little bit of time off here in the off season. Are you thinking about the off season at all, or just kind of focused on this weekend?
I don't have too many plans, but I'm definitely looking forward to the off season. Looking forward to some time to relax and get to spend some time with family and just kind of take it easy for a couple months and hopefully treat my body well and go from there.
Hey James, what has been the biggest change, as a player on and off the course since you became, a one-time?
Yeah, it's on the course. It's been cool. I've definitely had bigger galleries following my card, even if I'm not having my best tournament, and I find myself on the 7th card or something like that. It seems like I still draw quite a few fans out there, so I want to thank you all to all the fans that come out to watch. It's so fun to have galleries out there cheering for us, even when we're not right in the mix in the tournament, so thank you all. And then off the course, it's been just a little busier, I'd say, but a few more people asking for my time or asking for some of my attention, but it's been always good energy.
What's been the most fun thing about this season as a whole for you? Maybe aside from the obvious.
Right, yeah. Throwing that one in was probably the most fun, but for the season as a whole, it's been really fun to develop a new relationship and work with MVP. I'm really happy with my decision to start throwing their plastic and working with them, and it's definitely been paying off well.
And I'm sure you've got a game plan with some of that new plastic for this course. What are the spots on this course? What are you keying in on? What has to go right for you to get to that final card?
Yeah, I've been been trying to get comfortable with a few of the more understable discs in my bag. I feel like a lot of the holes out here ask for a late stand-up or even late drift to the right, especially without me having a forehand to rely on. So I've been throwing the relay and the insanity a lot out here, which is kind of rare on tour. It's usually more stable disc that I'm throwing, but I think if I have those hyzer flips dialed in this week, that'll help my chances a lot.
And then last question, we talked about expectations a little bit ago, how, that floor keeps rising for you. What are your expectations for this weekend, and what's gonna mark this in the column of success as you go to the off season?
I haven't tried to have any hard and fast expectations. I expect to have a good tournament mentally, keep my focus throughout the day on Saturday and hopefully Sunday as well, and try my best.
Hey, that's all you can do, right?
Yep.
Well, best of luck this week. We look forward to seeing you out there.
Thanks, Jamie.
And we're back here with the Silver Series assassin, Lisa Fajkus, here in our press conference. Lisa, we've had 6 seasons now. We're coming to the end of the 6th season on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. In 5 of those 6 seasons, you found yourself in the top 10 in tour points at the end of the year. Just speak to the consistency of your game and being here again at the Tour Championship.
Nice. That's good. That's a good stat. I love competing. I love being on tour. And, when the competition is there, I want to be there playing. And definitely feels good to find consistency as well. Makes me feel like I should be here. And moving forward, it's a good feeling knowing that I can do it. And if I put in the right time, that, I can get the results that I want.
Yeah, good results last year, too, making that final card, being in that featured foursome. What do you kind of take away from last year's event, being that it's the same course, some modifications, but mostly you're going to have a similar challenge ahead of you?
Yeah, so looking back, have good experience. I feel like just with it being my 3rd year playing out here at this venue and just being more familiar with it, knowing the pitfalls that can happen, getting a lot of practice in, a lot of reps, and I like this course for my game personally, being woods friendly and also, keeping it placement and inbounds. I like how this stacks up. Yeah.
Talk about those advantages. You said you like playing in the woods out here. Mm-hmm. What do you like about that, and how can you take advantage with your game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it helps me being in the woods focusing on certain shots when I need to hit gaps. I'm like picking something out in the woods and focusing on that and helping. That helps me compared to having a wide open shot. Helps me focus in, pinpoint my accuracy, and hit those lines that kind of put you down the fairway.
I want to take a minute just to kind of reflect on the season as a whole. We're here at the last event of the season, Tour Championship. You've had a pretty good 2021, plenty of podium finishes, a handful of victories here and there. Is there an individual moment or a tournament that stands out to you personally as a player as the most impactful or most important for you this year?
There's really 3 tournaments that stand out the most looking back on this year. Starting back at the Lone Star Classic, that was a B tier, but a big win for me considering the field and pretty big payout on the line. So that was a big win early in the season. And then getting a really big win, a Silver Series win out in San Diego was the following month. Kind of just was able to carry that momentum. So that felt really good to pop up there and, have that good win on my card. But then beyond those, what really sticks out is Worlds. Had that Utah Open coming in the week before, and that really helped me get set for Worlds. Then when Worlds came around, felt really comfortable, really confident, put the practice in to get good results out there. And coming in third at Worlds was a big deal, and also putting myself in contention to do even better. So that felt really nice.
Absolutely. And to kind of turn the page and look towards this event then, how do you feel about the format? You kind of have to play in that first round, but there's a handful of players at the top of the standings who have that bye. We've actually had some players in this press conference talk about the fact that they like the fact that they have that initial round to play on the course. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I really like the format. I like having an extra round coming in. I do feel like it is some sort of momentum. Being able to play that round, and then say if you do move on, you've got an extra round under your belt moving forward to the next round. But yeah, I'm excited. Just I feel like I like my chances. I don't want to get too excited or anything like that, but I like the course a lot.
What score do you think it'll take to get out of that first round?
To be honest, with the nerves coming into play, I think it's going to be close to 1 down to even. We'll get you out of the first round.
Absolutely. And finally, last one for me, but what would a win at the DGPT Tour Championship mean to Lisa Fajkus?
Yeah, that would be huge for me. Honestly, that would be one of the biggest wins of my career. And one of the biggest goals right now in my career is to focus on every shot and put myself in contention to play on the final day. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I want to look back at your season a little bit. Something about Silver Series. We've had 10 Silver Series events over the last 2 years. You've won 3 of them. 1 in 3 chance that you're at the top of the podium for some of those courses. Is there something special about that? Is it just happens to be that's the week you're on, or how do you break that down?
Yeah, I've been fortunate. The competition is always good every weekend, no matter where you're at. Silver Series, no exception for that. So I don't know what you can really equate that to, just being ready every week, week in and week out. I play a lot on tour, close to 30 events a year, a little under this year. But just putting myself out there week after week and, just knowing that, anything can happen, and it just happens to be sometimes on those events that I'm able to say, why not me? So.
Well, you talked about 30 events this year. That's a grind. That's greater than half of the weekends there are in a calendar year. How are you feeling mentally and physically? As we only got 1 more, but you have enough in the tank. How are you feeling?
Yeah, with it being the end of the season, I am a little bit, tired, a little sore. Just with it being a grind all year and coming down to the end here, doing a lot of rehab kind of stuff, Epsom salt baths, and trying to get my legs really strong for these next 2 events to finish out my season, most likely, and I might play some more events back at home, or who knows, in the off season, sort of. But I've got 2 more events out here on the road, and just trying to physically be ready for those.
What are you most looking forward to this off season? What are your plans?
This off season, I'm looking forward to getting back home for a little bit, seeing the family, and then also being in warm weather, playing a lot of disc golf, working on a lot of things, nutrition and physical fitness wise. So looking forward to all that bundled up, and off season's a really good time to not slack on any of that, and get ready to come back strong for another season.
One just really quick follow-up. What is your last event of the season if it's not the Tour Championship?
Sure. Right the week after this, it stays in the Carolinas, and it's called the Down East Players Cup. There's an A tier coming up, and there's a healthy size of women, I think 15 or 16 competing, so looking forward to that event. I've never played that event before, so I thought it'd be a fun one to cap off the year.
Awesome. Well, best of luck this weekend. We'll hope to see you on that final card once again, and have fun out there.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
And back once again, we've got Jeremy Big Jerm Koling here for the 2021 Tour Championship presented by Guaranteed Rate. It's in your backyard. We're back here in Charlotte once again. It's got to feel pretty special.
Every year, it's kind of got to pinch myself a little bit. This is the course I learned how to play on. This is my favorite course, my first course I really fell in love with. And it's unbelievable to, every time we have the Tour Championship here, not only in Charlotte but at Hornets Nest Park, I have this reflection of what it's taken to get to this point in my career, the journey that disc golf's taken me on. It's always so amazing to be back here.
Well, and expand on that a little bit more. I mean, you said you learned on this course. What are the things about Hornets Nest that made you the player that you are today?
Placement golf. I think controlling your drives into landing zones and not trying to throw for the glory shot. Just basically go for the safe, conservative shot, and then learn how to improve on that. you want to put your drives in the right place here. It's not necessarily a distance contest. This course has changed so much over the years, though, so it's not necessarily this layout that we're playing that is nostalgic. It's the park. It's just a beautiful park to be in, and just being here just really brings back memories. But I mean, I don't know where to even start really with what this course has taught me. It's taught me so much. So many courses in Charlotte, so it was a combination of Hornets Nest and Kilbourne and Chagall and Reedy Creek and Renaissance and Bradford, you name it. But just this was the course that was the closest when I really got into playing professionally. The house I lived in was about 2 or 3 miles away, so this was the one to drive over. Par 58, original layout, took me about an hour and 15 minutes if I was playing with one other person or so. So it's just a quick round. You get a couple rounds in, call it a day. And it's just so much fun. So many good memories here.
How do you personally deal with expectations that may come up? You know, maybe the layout's not the same, but you know every inch of the property.
Man, I looked at these stupid percentages that somebody put out, like who could win. I had a 0.01% chance of winning this tournament. There ain't no expectations for anyone out here. I mean, not for me at least. Nobody's expecting me to win according to statistics. I expect to do well because I know this place. I'm very comfortable out here, and but my expectations kind of, any ones that I may have had kind of went out the door when my bag was stolen. So I'm learning new discs still. I will still be learning new discs even in 2022. It's not like something you just trade out overnight. So this is a very specific course. The shots require a certain flip up, and that I'm still learning. So I'm just excited that it's here. I'm excited that it's a Hornets Nest. I'm going to embrace the moment. I'm going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to be on Jomez tomorrow, which is always a pleasure. I'm going to be playing with Ulibar, one of my best friends in the world. That's always a treat. I'm just embracing the opportunity. We got a $30,000 payout for first place this week, and regardless if I make it to the finals or not, I'm going to be calling that action. And for me, that's pretty special. And I'm just really, really grateful to be in this situation.
Yeah, talk a little bit about your season as a whole and sort of your reflection and maybe a grade on how you performed throughout the year. I mean, at the end of the day, you're still here at the championship, but how do you look back?
I actually think 2021 was pretty successful and for what I'm going for. For the most part, aside from just a couple of tournaments, I kept it in the top 20, top 25. And that's harder and harder to do. But you got to keep in mind, we're playing 2021 and 2020 without the European contention. And when those guys come back over here, those 22nd place finishes turn into 30th place finish really quick. Those guys are really good. They're going to be really hungry. So taking this season and just saying, okay, I was about top 20 in the U.S. According to Disc Golf Pro Tour, I was 18th best. So that's pretty good. I just turned 36 and, had certainly some run-ins with some injuries this year, knee problems, some back issues as well, and looking to maybe take care of those during the off season. But for the most part, I think 2021 was a pretty good success for myself. I always want to take down at least one tour win or be in contention. I haven't done that since 2018, so it's kind of been a bit of a drought for me. So it's I don't know. At this point in my career, I'm happy with just doing what I'm doing, and every once in a while when I am on lead card, it's nice to be there. And I don't have to come in first place for me to feel like I was successful at any given tour stop. But at the same time, I still have a drive to be competitive, and the reason I still play and not just focused on commentary is because I still have a very competitive drive. So we'll see what that ends up, how that turns out for me, because I'm in a really great place. I really enjoy playing competitively, but I also enjoy the other side off the course as well.
Kind of follow up on that. You mentioned it. The field gets better every week and only looks to continue to get better. Is it tough and difficult to manage like playing at an elite level and the amazing media responsibilities that you've been a part of for the last several seasons?
I don't really know any other way at this point. I've been doing this for 5 years consecutively now, since 2017 with Jomez, and I haven't missed a tour event where they've been recording and I've been there. So it's just a part of the job. I can't imagine it any other way. The only thing that's really tough is I think the one tough thing about doing commentary is that I'm in that field competing. And meanwhile, I'm seeing the very best shots thrown from the players who are playing the very best. And at night, I just get this idea compounded every night. It's like, dang, these guys are so good. Because I'm just seeing the best players just distance themselves from how I'm playing. And that's kind of, it's fun to do that, but at the same time, it's a little bit like you can deflate yourself pretty easily if you start comparing yourself versus other people's games. And if you're watching them constantly, it's like, man, they're really good and they're really young, and they don't stop getting younger somehow. But
and you don't have a choice; you have to watch it.
Yeah, it's like I wouldn't be really good at my job if I wasn't watching them and analyzing exactly what they're doing, and they're doing a good job.
Absolutely. One other thing you just said is I don't know if it was UDisc or whatever player comparison tool you looked at gave you a less than 1% chance to win this tournament.
0.01 specifically.
That's incredible. Do you find that extra motivating as you come into this week?
You know, kinda a little bit, because I think it's a little slap in the face, because it's just taking statistics based on winning probabilities or whatever how I finish versus certain players. And I mean, I'm not going to say they're wrong. Like I would say the percentages make sense for a reason. There's a reason why they're the way they are. But you have to factor in a little bit of the comfort zone of being, this is my climate. This is October in Charlotte. Are you kidding me? That's my place. Hornets Fest is my place, man. This is like, I feel like you gotta interpret those a little bit. I think Vegas would have had at least 0.07. You know, I don't know, something a little higher than 0.01. That's as like low of a number as you can give somebody. It's kind of a slap in the face, but
so
funny.
Needless to say, to take this down, it would be what would that mean to you if you were to take the?
I would donate all the money to UDisc doing better jobs with stats. Like I would probably. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. What would it mean? Oh my gosh. Ask me that Sunday. There's no way to even come up with the biggest payout. I mean, obviously money is incredible. The $30,000 is really enticing. It looks great for the sport, but to me, it wouldn't be about the cash. It wouldn't be about anything other than just like. For me, I think that guys at my age, guys that have won tour events, won majors in the past, who haven't in a while, to get one more against this field, you can't put words on that. That would be the ultimate, like, still got it.
Absolutely. So what's it going to take this weekend? What are the keys to success for you as you head into the Tour Championship?
Excuse me. The game plan has to be solid out here. You have to not lose sight of the fact that 7 down, regardless of how you shoot that, is going to be a great score. And most likely it's going to get you through to the next round. Finding how to manage that doesn't matter about what the other cards have done before you. It doesn't matter anything else. If you focus on that number and what you have to do to get to that number, you're going to be set, I think. So picking your spots, eliminating the problems. Last year I found myself in some situations of 15 years playing this course and never found myself there before. Got to avoid that kind of stuff. I think what it's going to take is just consistency. Just like any tournament, good putting, consistency, keeping it straight.
What do you, just to wrap up this interview here, what are you most looking forward to in the off season?
Hold on 1 second. I don't think you guys are picking that up.
He's got a call. He's got a call from his agent, ladies and gentlemen.
I thought it was President Obama. What am I looking most forward to during the off season? Planning a wedding. Deciding if we're gonna upgrade the house, if we're gonna renovate, we're gonna move, we're gonna sell, we're gonna rent. Are we gonna get an RV? Are we gonna there's some big plans. Jules has taken the steps to leave her job, and she's going to step into the role as my tour manager. So we're working on developing the Big Jerm brand. Basically, everything that goes in the off season is just preparing for the next season, but also very, very much needed rest. I can't tell you how tired I am right now. This is just last gasp just to stay focused for this event. When this event ends, win, lose, doesn't matter to me. I'm going to be hibernating, and it is going to be really amazing. Don't try calling me. Don't try to let's practice around clinic. Jeremy, I'm coming to Charlotte. No. I'm taking a rest. I might not wake up for a week. that's what I'm really looking forward to right now because that's what my mind's set on. I've been a little bit under the weather for the last 2 weeks. I've been dealing with a lot of stress with my bag being stolen and all that, and getting ready for the 2 biggest tournaments of the year right before that's taken a lot out of me. So that's the main thing my mind's on right now. But there's a lot going on for 2022 brand-wise. I really have been wanting to develop a brand for a long time. That's happening next year.
Well, that's great to hear. Of course, big congrats on the engagement and
Thank you.
the upcoming wedding, and we'll look forward to seeing you out there this week.
Can't wait, man. Tomorrow's going to be a lot of fun.
See ya.
Thank you.
And back for our final interview of the final press conference of the 2021 season, Jeff Spring, Tour Director and CEO. Jeff, first question, how's your week been?
Been a busy week. Yeah, just getting ready for this. Dealing with the aftermath of the USDGC, so we've been staying busy, but we're excited for a great event to cap the season.
Well, let's talk about that for a brief second, and then we can move on to the Tour Championship. Obviously you've been really busy kind of working through some of the things that happened last week, and just anything else you want to update or say while we're live here.
Sure. Yeah, I'm proud of our team for delivering one of the best broadcasts that we ever have. We had 40 people working on the live broadcast, 5 organizations. At the end, for those viewers who don't know, we did have the stream drop for some viewers that were affected, which was really bad timing. We all feel really bad about it. We feel sorry that it happened. We're diagnosing exactly why, and we've gotten to the bottom of a lot of it with one of our vendors, Vimeo. We've communicated with a lot of the viewers that were affected, and we're working on resolving it, kind of case by case, making sure we understand their experience, understand what happened, and just kind of making sure that we're making it right for everybody. I think like when you're in the final moments of an important major, you'd like to think that everybody was able to watch it live as was planned, and to have a critical, failure of wherever it comes from, we're sorry about that, and we're happy that many viewers, are reporting that they had a good experience, a good viewing experience, and we're just working really hard with our vendors to identify and put a lot more redundancy into the stream protection. So it's been busy. I've been talking to a lot of individuals back and forth on email, sometimes on phone, and I think on behalf of our entire teams that worked on it, we've tried to get in touch with everybody to apologize, but also at the end of the day, when it comes to this golf network, I'm responsible. So, to our team and everybody who worked so hard on our team, 40 people, 5 organizations, PDGA, USDGC, Fulcrum, DGN, LiveView, Vimeo, I personally feel responsible and apologize to our team, because everybody worked so hard, delivered a great product, and for the people that were affected, I think they know that we're trying to take responsibility, and they could email us at dgn@dgpt.com to ensure that their experience and their voice is heard, and that we answer their concerns and make it right for each person.
Well, and just like every golfer on the field, you got to move on, play the next round, play the next hole. So we're looking forward to a great broadcast this week at a very important tournament. I just want to give you a chance to talk about the work that's been put into having the biggest purse in the history of disc golf, having the biggest sponsors come in. Talk about the culmination of what has been a really special year.
Yeah, it's a culmination of our efforts, I think, from the start of the Pro Tour, back when I was just a tournament director and advisor to the tour, all the way up through taking, control of the management wing of the tour. It's the work of everybody on our team the last 2 years that has resulted in some outside the sport sponsorships with Guaranteed Rate leading the way. Big thank you to our presenting sponsor there. We also have LL Bean and Johnsonville on board, as well as all of the internal sponsors that we've worked with, Bushnell, all the manufacturers, all of the other sponsors. I won't try to name every single one right now, because it's a huge group of partners that have made this possible. And all of our employees, everybody should take pride in this, all of our partner organizations, because it's really a representation of, where we can take the sport. It's one step forward. I think the sport is about doubled, almost the past 2 years, and I think having the purse almost double is a representation of like new fans finding disc golf. All of us professionals in the industry working to capitalize on that and provide a great experience for our touring pros. So I'm excited that we can deliver for the heartbeat of our organization, which are those touring professionals, and provide really exciting format, really exciting purse. And this is a culmination of the Disc Golf Pro Tour Point Series all year, and I couldn't think of a more exciting format. I'm really excited to watch each round kind of determine huge stakes.
And just because this is the last event of the season doesn't mean that it's the end of disc golf for viewers and consumers. Some exciting stuff coming up with ESPN. Can you just talk a little bit more about the details of the ESPN show for the Tour Championship?
Yeah, we did a 3-deal show with ESPN this year after one show deal last year. And so we did the Portland Open, we did a mid-season highlight video, and now the Tour Championship again. That's going to air in early November. The air date will publicize. Right now it's scheduled, but it really gets locked in a few weeks before. So we'll publicize that. It's going to be a 2-hour feature on this event, but we'll also recap the season and how we got here. And we're excited. We had great ratings last time. It was the highest rated show on ESPN2 when it aired in 2020. In 2021, we expect and hope for the same thing. Keep your eyes peeled for a promotional campaign. And we also, will announce an off-season slate for Disc Golf Network with some new original content as well.
Absolutely. And, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask, can you share any of that off-season content with us? Can you give us a little tease, a little taste of what's to come on the Disc Golf Network?
Yeah, absolutely. We are proud to be partnering with Paul Ulibarri, and he's debuting his documentary reality show called Scratch to Scratch. I think it's a really unique format for a show. 6 episodes. We're going to announce the release date soon, but it's going to be scheduled week to week. And we've got some other stuff. We got the All-Star Game. We're working on another celebrity pro-am. And, we've got a lot of, pro-focused content coming in the off-season. So, we understand a lot of our subscribers really love live disc golf, and they stick around for that. But I think for, certain disc golf fans, we expect to see a lot of great content for viewing in the off-season as well.
And then, to turn the page a little bit from the off-season and looking forward to next year, what are you most excited for in 2022? There's a lot changing with the sport, new sponsors coming in, coronavirus regulations kind of lifting and allowing more travel, more opportunity to do some of those things. Is there one thing that you're kind of looking ahead and circling on the calendar as we head into next year?
Well, generally, I think I'm most excited about our partnership with the PDGA and pulling together in the same direction as a unified tour, as the official pro tour of the PDGA. So we're working on aligning resources, basically putting our best foot forward as a team, and I think that's just going to allow for fantastic cooperation, coordination, collaboration in order to deliver better results. And those results I expect to be bigger spectator crowds at events, upgraded venues, upgraded communication with spectators and players, bigger purses, bigger sponsors. I am looking forward to evolving tour standards and making sure competition elevates, evolving, our media team and working with our media partners to deliver better content for the fans at home. So, I think just another year of progression, really.
Jeff, with that all being said, what does it mean to you as a disc golfer and as a TD and as the CEO of the DGPT to be a shepherd and have a major role in moving professional disc golf forward in the next year or two, or going forward?
Yeah, it's huge. It means a lot. In a sense, I got into disc golf in 2008. I quickly became involved with the PDGA. I became a state coordinator in I think 2011 for Vermont, and was able to serve in that role for nearly 8 years as a state coordinator. So I know all the ins and outs of how much work and love and care goes into managing the game of disc golf from the PDGA, and to represent the kind of the pinnacle of professional competition is really meaningful to our team, and to me personally as well. So I've worked with everybody there: Big Dog, Andrew, Mike, Joe, you Hayden, the media team, Danny and Matt, and the events team, Todd and Sean, for a long time already. And it's just going to be fun to work even closer together with the entire organization, state coordinators, to make sure where you're kind of from the newest member to the top pro in the game, kind of delivering for the disc golf community that we love.
Well, last question. Of course, you got a lot of work on your plate coming up. It's not necessarily an off season for you, even though it is for the players. When you get time away, where can you find Jeff Spring when he's not working on disc golf?
Oh, okay. I really love mountain biking, and I definitely want to get in a good couple of weeks where I get some rides in. So I don't know how. I know Vermont's been seasonally warm, so I think that I'll have some time to mountain bike when I get back to Vermont. Who knows? Maybe I'll have to take a weekend somewhere warmer. Last year I went over to Asheville and mountain biked in the Pisgah mountain range, which was pretty rugged, and I almost broke myself off, so I got to be careful. But once winter hits, I'll try to get a lot of ski days in. I ran the ski and ride school at Smuggler's Notch for about a decade, and that's the other thing I love to do. So those two things. But the off season is also where we honestly put the most work in a different way, right? Just planning and making sure our staff is expanding. We're going to be posting new jobs soon, probably November 1st. And we hope to hire a bunch more folks by December 15th. We're also going to be making sure that we lock in all of our big partnerships for next year. Again, November 1st to December 15th is our timeline on that. And then, before that, we've been already working and talking with our media partners to try to lock in the entire, media plan for next year. And we'll have a couple weeks after this where we try to get that done by November 1st. But yeah, it's busy. So while it'll be nice to have a little bit more freedom, not being tied to events, to mountain bike and ski, I think we've got a lot on our plate for next season as well.
Well, that sounds good. Let's get this last event in the can and then get ready for next season. Thanks, Jeff Spring, CEO, Tour Director.
All right, thank you.
That's going to conclude.